Check, check. There we go. Let me do a couple more checks before we get started. Mm-mm-mm. It says I'm live, but I haven't used StreamYard in such a long time. So, and I'm doing StreamYard so that people, on the chance that somebody will want to call in and talk about this topic, they will be able to. And I'm doing StreamYard so that people, on the chance that somebody will want to call in and talk about this. Okay, good. So it's working. My wife will probably let me know if it's not working or not. Let me see something. All right. What's up, y'all? So I was talking to a friend the other day, and what we were talking about was I usually mentor him and I mentor a couple of other guys. And he was saying, why don't I go into more detail about the advice that I give young men? And I was thinking about it and I said, you know what? That is kind of what the channel is about. A lot of young men, they don't know their way in life. They have no idea what they're doing and they're being attacked from all sides. I got some notes here and I just wrote down a couple of things that's been going on, but I want to here, let me just pull this over here. Y'all can't see what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. I got a bunch of notes here of things I wanted to talk about. And I'm also doing this one on StreamYard and not OBS so that if anybody did have the balls, have the guts to, talk in, to call in, they will be able to do that. And I put the StreamYard, um, the the link in the what is it called? Sorry, I'm just checking something. I put the link in the description. So if you want to join the conversation, just join it. I'll talk to anybody as long as you're not doing nothing crazy or inappropriate. I will talk to anybody. Now, what I will say is it's a lot that I have not told people about myself. And I've been careful about that because, for one, I don't want to give too much information because I have, a very, what's the word? I still have a job and I don't want people to just try to find my job and do all types of crazy stuff. But also, I got a family that I care about. I don't want them to be pulled into some nonsense that they don't deserve, So, and I got to take care of my family, right? So, that's one of the reasons why I haven't talked a lot about my background. But in that, I think some people will look and say, "Well, why should we trust you? Where's your stance on these things?" And they see me, I'm talking about, you can kind of see my point of view when I'm reviewing debates or anything like that. But you don't really know who I am. You don't really know what I believe, my background. Why should anybody listen to me? And so, just to put it out there, I've been mentoring men for more than 20 years now. And when I mean mentor, I have sat down with people who've had problems in their marriage. I have sat down with young men who struggle to find a girlfriend or wife. I have helped people who are struggling with alcohol abuse, drugs. I've helped people, to find spiritual guidance and get spiritual guidance and be plugged into a group of men who are going to help them. I've done several amounts of Bible studies, seminars, all types of things where I've spoken in front of at the most 1,000 people. I've done a lot of things where you can come and hear the things I have to say and the knowledge and the wisdom that I have, and you can judge it for yourself. A lot of people wouldn't know that because a lot of those things aren't on the internet. And I just started like with my channel, what, about a year ago. So I don't really brag on a lot of that stuff because I do see a lot of people bragging, and I hate to be one of those people. I hate to be one of the man. I sold a book. I have written a book. Man, I got a company. I do got a company. So it's like a lot of these things people brag about, and I don't want to be one of those people that's just constantly bragging. But I get, and even my wife tells me sometimes, well, sometimes you do got to tell people what you've done so that they understand who you are and why they should listen to you. So, outside of being a mentor for men for the more than 20 years, since I was 17 actually. I'm 42 now and just turned 42 this week. Thanks to God for that, for keeping me safe. And I will say like so I got married at age 22. And when I got married, I met my wife. She was also very young. She was 20, I was 22 when we got married. And so I've been married for more of my life than I haven't been married. And I have a successful marriage, and I got a loving wife. I got 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl. And a lot of people would look at my life and they would say, "Man, that sounds great." And I'm not gonna lie, I it is great. It is great. I have nothing to complain about. That don't mean it's easy, but I gotta thank God for where He brought me through. But it'd be a foolish thing of me for God to bring me through 20 years of marriage. This year it'll be 20 years. It's 19 technically. In October, I will have been married for 20 years. Those who paying attention to this channel, you've seen my wife on this channel before. We've been married for 20 years. I know I look young, but yeah, I've been married for 20 years now. I've lived in a couple different states, and I've been around. So all that to say is my word is trustworthy. I Not too many people at my age can say they've been married successfully for 20 years. Successfully, 4 children, all with the same woman. No secret baby mamas out there. No kids from other women that y'all don't know about. It's just that's not my background. I come from a home where my dad is a Baptist pastor. He still is currently a pastor. And my dad has been married to my mom since before I was born. And all my brothers and sisters. I got 1 brother who's older, he's been on the channel. 1 sister who's younger, she's been on the channel. My brother's my best friend. He I would say this, all of us are from the same mother. My dad now has been married for over 40 years. I think about 45 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so we come from a line of successful. My grandfather, he was married for over, dang, I want to say 70 years almost. So when he died, he was married to my grandmother. He didn't leave her. No, we don't. So that's not in my family. I have generations of people who were and are successfully married. So when I go through and I see what's going on in society, I'm looking like from the outside looking in, I'm like, what in the world is going on? Right. And people would say, "Oh, you must be very detached because since you have such a successful marriage, me and my kids and my wife, we all go to my father's church. My brother's there, my sister's there, my grandparents are there, and we have a successful marriage. And my brother's marriage is successful, my sister's marriage is successful." And you would look and say, "Man, he must be detached from what's going on out here." But that's not the case. It's because I've seen the right way that things have been for me that I can't pull up the ladder after I climb up and then look at these young men who are down here struggling and just say, well, you guys will figure it out. I hate that. And I also hate the idea that there's a bunch of young men that are struggling right now. It's never been harder for men than it is right now. And I'm not saying that to placate to them or try to gain some friendships. I really do believe that. When I see what's going on out here, even with the Lindsay Clancy case, you got to think every crazy woman you see is potentially somebody's wife or girlfriend. That's what men are dealing with out here. These women are freaking insane. It's never been worse than it is now to try to date, to try to get involved with a woman. It's never been worse than it is now for a man to be accused of something he didn't do, to go to prison for something that he had nothing to do with, to get some type of accusation as soon as he makes a certain amount of money. It's never been worse than it is now for a man to be a man, and that is by design. And so my channel, I had to rethink it because I was doing a lot of debate reviews and I still got some debate reviews lined up. And I still love doing that. And I'm still going to do that because I think debate is very, very important, especially in a society where we got a bunch of snowflakes that cry about everything. But I had to rethink. I'm like, dude, when I was talking to my friend yesterday, I said, what is my channel about? What do I have to get back to? What am I losing focus? And I want to be one of those beacons of light where you can be able to come to my channel and young men can get advice that they would not get anywhere else. Let me show. Oh, that's that. I wonder if I could add. See, I don't know how to use StreamYard that well. Let me see. All right. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out how to share some of this information. But some of it is just stuff I'm going to be talking about anyway. So the question would be then, how does a man who's been married for 20 years, how is he red pill? Is he one of the beta dudes? Is he one of the people that's just going to tell young men, just work harder, just work harder, and it'll all come through? It'll all work out. Am I one of those guys who believes that? Or am I one of those guys who are just going to be like, you know what? Just listen to your wife. Just listen to your wife because, when things go wrong, you just bow down to her and just let her take over the whole household and you listen. That's what a lot of Christian men are saying. That's what a lot of Christian men, the advice that they give young men. I've seen enough. I've seen enough, man. So much so, part of the reason I wanted to start this channel was I seen people give terrible, absolutely terrible advice. And so it's like, how did I oh okay, so how did I get red pilled then? And the answer is my dad was red pill. He just didn't we didn't call it that back then. We didn't call it, oh man, your father, he's red pill. He doesn't deal with women's nonsense. It wasn't never said like that. What it was I grew up in a very red pill culture. For those who don't know, what I mean by red pill is we were not weak men. We did not simp for women. We did not believe that the marriage household was equal on both sides and that it was a partnership. We believed the man was in charge. We always have believed that. My dad taught me that. My grandfather believed that. It's always was like that. And my dad was so different than the typical, hood black guy because we lived in a hood. We would ride in my dad's car where he was taking us to, this or that event, and he would be listening to Rush Limbaugh. What type of black dude? We knew more about information from listening to Rush Limbaugh in the back of my dad's car than any other kid on the block. He educated us when we were young. We were homeschooled. Me, my brother, and sister, we were homeschooled. All of us until around middle of middle school. Like I started going to school in like sixth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. And we were homeschooled. And my dad would just teach us conservative ideology. We didn't know it was conservative. We just thought that's how everybody thought. My dad would be like, work hard, stop complaining. Racism is not an excuse. He would tell us this from a young age. From a young age, he would always be like, yo, stop crying, get back up. Racism cannot hold you down. If somebody is racist against you, then ignore that person because until they touch you, who cares? Because they can't affect you. You have to be better. You got to be stronger. You got to be faster. You got to be smarter. He would tell me stuff like that all the time. On top of the biblical teachings of masculinity and the biblical stories and telling my and teaching my brother and I. Here's a quick story. My dad, I remember we had gotten some bikes for our birthday or something like that. Because I know my birthday is like in a hot weather. So it wasn't Christmas because it was sometime during the season when it was hot. And me and my brother were like 6 and 7. And they bought us these nice, cool bikes, and we would just ride them around the block. Our block was super long, so you could ride them around the block like 10 times and you would be tired, right? And me and my brother would ride our bikes together. And when we rode these bikes, some kids jumped out in front of us and they act like they had weapons in their shirt. Like they had some sticks and they put them in their shirt like they had some weapons. Like you could see the stick poking out. And they said, "Give me that bike or we gonna kill you." And me and my brother gave up the bikes, man. We were 6 and 7. We gave up these bikes. And so my dad, we ran home crying and we said, our bikes got stolen. They took our bikes and they rode off. We didn't put up no fight or nothing. So my dad called my uncle, my mom's brother. He was I'll just put it this way. He had some gang ties and he was like a tough guy, right? He had a motorcycle, everything. And my dad had a motorcycle too, so they would ride around together every once in a while. And they went and they found these kids, jacked them up. I ain't gonna go into details about what jack them up mean. They found these kids and they got our bikes back. The first thing that my dad did when he got the bikes back is he taught us how to fight. And I'm not talking about just self-defense. I'm talking about how to hurt people. He taught us how to defend ourselves and make sure nobody attacks you again. My dad was one of those people that he had the philosophy that if you got to fight, you make it so the first person that ever swing on you or ever try to touch you, you make them regret that decision so bad that the people behind them that want to jump you are scared to fight you. So that's what he taught us. He taught us techniques. He taught us how to fight and how to even throw our bikes down and throw people on top of them. And we would practice and do all types of stuff. I don't think he knew that, we would be facing that type of nonsense that young, but we were. We lived in a tough neighborhood, right? So he was like, don't ever let somebody take something from you without a fight. Don't let, and that's kind of like the theme of the show today. Don't let somebody take something from you without a fight. People are taking society from men. They're taking it. And I can't sit there and be like, yeah, well, I'm married, so everything's cool with me. No, it's bad out here, man. It's really bad. And these young men, they're trying to search for knowledge and guidance, and they're not getting anything because the Christians are so soft. They so soft right now. It's hard to even come up behind them and say, "Yeah, I'm a Christian and I got some advice for men," because they like Christian. This is gonna be some simp, peeled, happy wife, happy life stuff, and it's never been that perspective from me. But people have been burned so much by Christian advice. I don't blame them for saying, "Man, oh, that crap is soft. They gonna teach you to, just bow down to your wife." And so when I got older, right? Because that was when I was young. When I got older and I got to high school, I started noticing things that my dad used to say to me and my mom about women. Here's some of the things they used to say. They would say, and they did have different words for whores and hoes and stuff like that, but they would say these women is out here is basically sluts. They say, don't you bring no slut home. Don't you bring a slut home because we is not gonna we ain't gonna help you. But this is my mom and dad. We ain't gonna help you raise no baby. If you go out there and you get a girl pregnant, you come back here, we gonna tell you to get yourself a job and get out there and make it work. And we was like, they had told us so many stories and we had seen so much. And we seen a couple examples, bad examples from, family members of what not to do in relationships. And we said, we don't want to be like that. And we would read, Proverbs, and my dad would just go, this is what a wicked woman is. This is what a godly man does. And he would just break it down. Now, when I got to high school, here's one of the things that was weird for me that kind of gives me a different perspective than most other people. First of all, I went to a Christian school and it was a private school, and my dad saved up for us to go to. Now, he was a pastor. He wanted us to go to a good school. He did not like public school. So when my mom got overwhelmed, um, when we were getting to a higher age, like I said, we from middle school, we went to private school and it cost a lot of money. And my dad had to do extra jobs and everything. And I still respect him to this day for doing that. He sold his motorcycle for us to go to school. And if you know how much he loved that motorcycle, that was a big deal for him. It was like his only hobby. He sold his motorcycle so we can go to private school, me, my sister, and brother. And when I went to private school, it was an all white school in this suburban place. And it was new to me because as a black man from the hood, a black boy from the hood, this is my most white people I ever been around. And it was a different culture. All my friends had been black. My family obviously was all black. And I got treated differently. I got treated was like people talk about racism. Yeah, it was racism. It was racism. I was the only black kid. I was one out of two black kids in my whole entire grade. Some of these kids I'm talking about super suburban Christian private school. Some of these kids I was the only black kid they'd seen. And you would say, "Oh, that's wrong." It's the way it is. It was a higher middle class type school. It costed a lot of money. That's the way it is. And it taught me a lot. So I had to stand out to make friends. I had to do things that kind of shape my personality now. I had to stand up for myself. I had to learn how to make jokes. I had to learn how to not take things so personally. So then I went to that private school about up to my junior year. Then after that, my grades started slipping. And my parents is like, dude, we ain't gonna pay for you to go to a private school if you ain't getting all A's and B's. We don't expect no 2 point anything. So they took me out to private school and they put me in a public school. Now, I was always an artist. I drew since the time I was born. Like ever since I could hold a pencil, I was always drawing. And my son is just like that. So everybody who knows me and knows my son, yeah, like he has it, it's like in his DNA. And so I went from private school to public school. Now, this public school was in a tougher neighborhood, and I'm coming from this Christian private school suburban background to a inner city public school that was very, very liberal, if not one of the most liberal schools in the city that I lived in. And so when I went to this school, it was culture shock. But I've noticed some similarities as well. I noticed that women love they love the players, no matter what school it was, whether it was white, whether it was black. Women love players. They love players. They love the football captain of the football team. They love the captain of the basketball team. This is who they are. And so these type of things didn't change. What did change was just the morality, how people talked, the culture shock from just seeing things like homosexuality that I had never seen two dudes kissing or making out until I went to public school. Even back then, this is more than 20 years ago now. So I started seeing the stuff. I was like, what in the world is going And I was a kid who had his Bible in his backpack and this weird. Oh, I got roasted. I still remember. What, man? I got so many stories. It taught me, but I was like socially not socially awkward, so I learned. But here's the thing. So I went from where clothes were not that important to a predominantly white kid school where you could wear whatever you want to clothes were very important in a black school. Very important. I had made the mistake of wearing some lugs to school. I got roasted so bad, man. I never wore them shoes again in my life. My dad was like, "What's wrong with lugs?" For those who don't remember, lugs are these like boots that look like bricks. They were terrible looking and known as being cheap even back then. You couldn't wear lugs, you couldn't wear felines, you couldn't wear anything but Air Force Ones. Back in those days, it was a song, you get to stomping in my Air Force Ones. Everybody thought Air Force Ones was the greatest shoes of all time. And so if you wore anything besides Nike, Air Force Ones, Air Maxes, or Jordans, you was gonna get made fun of in a black school, absolutely. And so I was known as the awkward kid. That took about half a year till I had my summer job. I had my first job was at Wendy's, and I was 15 years old, and I saved up all my money, and I bought a bunch of good nice clothes. And for those who were like, "Oh, how did that line up?" Well, I graduated at when I just turned 17. Like, so I was young. I was behind everybody in my grade. I was like a grade above what I was supposed to be at. So when I was a junior, the people in my age was kind of like sophomores. So I saved up all this money and I bought me some Pelly Pal. I bought me some platinum pants. Some of y'all ain't gonna know this. Y'all too old. I mean, y'all too young. Y'all ain't gonna understand. I was so fresh. You couldn't tell me nothing. I had the Air Force Ones. I had the man, what was in Guess jeans was in back then. Man, I had so much clothes. I had saved up almost $1,000 just on clothes. And even right now, $1,000 could get you a lot of like teenage clothes, right? So I was fresh. You couldn't say nothing to me. And I'm telling you, and it changed how people treated me. It changed how people treated, especially girls. When I came in looking fresh and stuff like that, I got treated differently. And you would think that would make me like the cool kid or whatever. It started to, but I got bitter because I was like, dude, these people are, even back then, I was like, this is super, these women are superficial. Now you want to give me a hug because I'm fresh. But before you didn't care nothing about me. So that was like some of my first red pilling. Just seeing, how I thought girls were, even back then, I thought girls were as deeper thinkers than men. For whatever reason, I just thought girls would like you because your personality and you're sweet and you're a caring guy. I really thought that back then. I'm talking about like age 16 maybe. And then after high school, I was like, no, dude, you gotta be the man. Because the girl still was only dating the basketball players and the dudes with money. It was a dude who had like, I don't know what it was, some type of crazy car back then. Some like Corvette or something he would drive to school. It was his mom's. And he had a different girlfriend every semester. And I was just like, oh, okay, I see how this works. In order to get attention from women, you got to have stuff. You got to be somebody. And what happened is when I went to college, so I went to college after that. Actually, I went into like trade school. I went to trade school, which is like college, but it's not. And after that, then the party lifestyle started. And I started really learning. But that what changed me was I no longer cared what anybody thought. And my dad was so busy with church and stuff. Our church was the biggest it had ever been. It was the biggest it had ever been. Our church right now is like 100, 120. Back then, it was like, in some ways, it was almost close to 300 members. So it was like a medium sized church. But for our family, starting the church from nothing. That was the biggest our church had ever been. And so he was super busy and he wasn't always around. And me and my brother took vows at age 16 not to have sex before marriage. We did. And we kept that vow. And me and my brother, who's 1 year older than me, we were able to hold each other accountable. I would not have been able to accomplish that without getting married young, for one, and having my brother beside me to just hold me accountable. Because everywhere we went, we were together. Even when people would say our names, they would just say them together. But one thing that we did was we would go out all the time. All the time. We didn't drink either. We took a vow not to drink, which is, if I can go back in time, I wouldn't have took that vow because I don't necessarily think that drinking is wrong. But we did. We took a vow to stay pure before marriage. We took a vow not to drink. I forgot what else, but it was like stuff we took, and we had these like little promise rings we would wear and stuff. And so we started accumulating a bunch of friends in a friend group, and we would go out every night to different clubs, to bars. We didn't drink, so we would just go out and have fun. And it taught me. So we was out every night. So some of those people who probably gonna be like, no, man, you dude, I'm telling you. So what I did was I became like a good dancer. I'm talking about like break dance, popping. Some people call it popping and locking. In my city, you can get super well known for being like a good dancer. We would have battles and dance competitions. And some people still hold this against me to this day. Like oh, he's a dancing guy. Well, that was like 50 pounds ago. But back in the day, I was a beast. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we're in my city, you couldn't say nothing to me. If you wanted to dance, like I would be upstairs. I used to live in the attic of my parents. We had moved into a new house and it was like 3 times bigger. And me and my brother lived in the attic. And I was a dance obsessed maniac. All I would do was watch dance videos and I would copy everything they did. I would try to compete. I would try to learn all the different moves. All I did was I was obsessed with it. So when we would go out, we would go into these competitions and, well, not necessarily competitions. We would just go out and they would be called what's called a cipher. I know this is some dance nerd stuff, but people would dance and they would battle each other. And I got pretty good. Like first I was getting whooped. I didn't just start off good. Let's not lie. I didn't just start off being good, but after a while, I got really, really good. Good enough to where when I would go to a different club, people would be like, "Oh, that's that dude," or "Oh, my friend want to battle you." And so we was young, dude. We was like 21, right? And so everywhere I went, I was known as this dance dude, the dude who danced really good. I had, people trying to battle me all the time, and it made me. That also red pilled me. Because the moment that I went into a place and I was known, the girls was on me, dude. They was on me and they would try to sleep with me, but because my brother was there and he would be like, no, man, we can't go home with these dudes. We can't go home with these girls. We can't go to a hotel. We can't go into VIP and do what they asked you to do. We took a vow. We can't do that. And sometimes it was hard. Sometimes it was like, I'm not really feeling this drunk girl anyway. But I'm telling you, it was there. And the thing that made me red pill about it was how easy it was for these girls to throw themselves because you had an ounce of status. I wasn't no well known in every city. It was just in the city I lived in. I wasn't no big name dude. I wasn't no like getting TV deals or anything. It was just the circles I was in. And in my friend group, we had about 10 different dudes we used to kick it with. And it's really weird because they was all different races. One of them was Asian, one of them was Puerto Rican, one of them was Mexican, a couple were white, a couple were black. So we were one of the only friend groups. One of them was even an Indian dude. but we were one of the only friends groups that were so diverse with a bunch of young guys who dress nice, and we would go out, and I was the one that they would send to battle people, and so it was like that was our group. I still Some of those people are still friends with me to this day. And so it taught me a bunch about women because we would go and we would get well known by a lot of the clubs and the places. We would go to other bigger cities sometimes, and we would get well known, and you would see these women that would they would change up how they would act and the stuff that they would offer to do sexually and stuff simply because I could dance was insane. Now it's not like that now today. At least I don't think. I'm not young anymore and I'm not single. But it used to be like if you was a dancer, if you battled in the club, that was a high status. You remember the movies like You Got Served and stuff? That was in back then. So being a dude who like dance and competitions, because I got in competitions later, got in a group later. Um, if you were that dude, that was like the cool dude. Now they don't have that. Dancing is looked at as kind of like something you do on TikTok or something like that. But back then, you was the man. So it red pilled me a lot as the woman's nature. And what also helped red pill me is the fact of since I did not want anything from these women sexually, at least spiritually, I didn't. Physically, I wanted to, but spiritually, I didn't, and I didn't not want to be linked to a woman. I believed, and still to this day, I believe that sex is way more spiritual than it is physical. And so, seeing that and seeing how the women didn't have power over me, so they didn't know how to treat me. If that makes any sense, they would see a dude who dressed nice. They would see a young black dude, and they would be like, "Something's different about him. He's not trying to sleep with me. He doesn't want to. Why is he not? Is he gay?" They would all wonder. I even had a group of girls that would just kick it around us like groupies. And they would always try to flirt and do types of things. They would try to dance on us at the club. And we would accept it. We would dance with them. We would play around. We would flirt. But we would never sleep with them. Me and my brother would never sleep with them. And that really threw them off when the tables were turned, if you know what I mean. Because they wanted to, and we knew they wanted to. If only just for the status of me and my brother were well known. We would go to all the different clubs. People would be like, "Oh, that's them. That's them. That's them brothers." They would confuse us because we look kind of similar if you see us on the channel. Now we was in way better shape back then, but that we were well known. And simply for the status, some of these women wanted to really bad lock us down. And I could tell you stories, but some of them is kind of like crazy. The stuff that women would do. And so it really red pilled me to the point where I was like, man, I'm burning with passion out here. I got to get married. I got to get married. So I'm not going to play. I'm not going to date these girls. And I wouldn't even say dated as much as I had some prospects of women that I was considering. None of them, even back then, crossed the line into being a viable candidate. Loud, combative. First of all, I was only trying to date black women for a while. That was a bad idea. That was a terrible idea. I can't do with no loud, combative nature. And most 70% of black women are born with no fathers in the home. They don't know the first thing about how to treat a man. So they're out. And I was really burned by that. So when I was dating women, when I was going to the mall with them, going to movies, we would go in groups, right? My group, your group, a bunch of girls would kind of come, want to come. We would take trips to different cities for the weekend. We lived in between a couple big cities, and we would go, and girls would come with us. And being that I would not take these girls serious, I was like, dude, man, is there any good girls out here for a man? Is it any good girls out here? When I found my wife, I met her at a Christian Bible study through my best friend and my brother's college. They went to a different college than I did, and we lived close to their college. And we had a Bible study. And Bible study was somewhat popular for like college. Sometimes we had like upwards of 25 people there in our little apartment coming for Bible study. And the thing that drew people to our Bible study was we were unapologetically masculine, even back then. We really, some ways we took it overboard. My brother would tell you, we looked for debates. We looked to make people mad. We looked to step on false teaching. Like we went out of our way to do it. Just to show you how we went out of our way. There's a group called Campus Crusade that would meet up at the college that my brother and them went to, and we would go to the college and just, flirt with girls and do all that. But anyways, so we would go up to the college, and this group called Campus Crusade was there. And a couple people inside that group was teaching stuff we did not agree with. One of the guys who claimed to be a Christian was teaching that hell did not exist, but he was still claiming that he was a Christian. And he would invite people to his Bible study, and all he would talk about is how hell didn't exist. He would do lessons on that. So we fashioned our Bible study and made it where we did studies on how hell does exist, and Jesus talked more about hell than he did heaven. And we went looking for this dude. We was like, let's find him. People came, word got back to us that this dude was doing this teaching type thing, and we was like, no, we can't have it. We found him, we debated him in front of his friends. We would embarrass him, we would make him look stupid. We loved debating, me and my brother and my friend at the time. We loved to debate. And so our Bible study got popular because we were doing things like that. This is what we did. It wasn't called LGBTQ back then. They had a Pride Week at the school. And during that Pride Week, we took chalk and we wrote on every side, like right where all the students go in. We did this at night. We wrote Bible verses, and we wrote Leviticus 18:22. We wrote Romans 1, 17 through 19, I think. We wrote First Corinthians chapter 6. We was writing homemakers. We did that at college campus. People were so mad, it became a big thing. People were writing like scratch, taking water and pouring it out. They were saying Christians aren't welcome here anymore because they when we were writing the verses with chalk, nobody was out there. But the next day, it turned into a firestorm. So much so that Campus Crusade Ministry called us in for a meeting because they were getting blamed for what we did. They were getting blamed for what we did. And so we met with the Campus Crusade guy leader, and sure enough, he was soft. And me and my brother were not backing down. We said, no, we will stand for truth. Whoever got a problem with it can come and talk to us. That made us even more popular. My wife and her friends, before she was my wife, came to our Bible study. They started learning. People, I'm telling you, the women were drawn to us. I'm not bragging. They wouldn't admit it, but they were coming because they saw something in us that was like, these guys are not scared of truth. They're unapologetically masculine. They're not scared to confront evil. They're going to stand up for what they believe is right, even at their own detriment. And a lot of people hated us. We didn't care. But we were like we were like the warrior type Christians. And still to this day, I still take a lot of pride in how we handled that because I think that's how the apostles would have done it. We did not care. My brother who was going to that school said, I don't care. Y'all can expel me. So what? I'm going to stand on and now they didn't. My friend was the same way, so we stood for things that it would be unheard of for Christians to do some of the things. And I'm not even going into all the stories. It would be unheard of for Christians to do and say some of the things that we did back then because it was just like so in your face. We would go and debate teachers that were teaching that, African studies and homosexual agenda stuff. We would go to their class, wait for them to be done, and debate the teachers until they kicked us out. We would do stuff like that. We were doing Charlie Kirk stuff before Charlie Kirk even was like, he's younger than me. So, well, he was. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But we were doing that type of stuff before they got popular. We didn't have a booth or anything, but we would just walk around campus and just discuss with people. We would say, "Hey, I heard you thought this." Like, it wasn't even a sign or invitation. It was, "I heard you think this. What about that? This is what the Bible says." And it made us the men we are today. So my heart has always been, how can I reach men and make men stronger? How can I reach men and make men stronger? And what also, I do a very risky job. So I always wanted to leave a legacy of, my sons would be able to watch videos of me if something were to ever happen to me and see what I think about these issues. They wouldn't have to wonder, man, I wonder what dad would say about this, because they could just watch my videos and learn it. It's always been a Christian based channel. It's always been something that I wanted to dig my foot in and say, this is our ground. We're going to fight for young men. And the main reason that I feel a burden to do it now is because young women are out of control. Out of control. I've never seen it as bad as it is now. It's insanity. If we were just to scroll through, you would understand how bad it is. Oh, I'm not gonna show too much of this, but for those, when I was talking about the dancing back, this video is from 17 years ago. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. You're going to have to pay for more. But all that to say, yeah, that was my background. That's where I came from. Uh, so let's get right into what can I do to share this. Let's see if I can share this screen here. There we go. Mm. So I was reading and I was like, with the nonsense that's going on, here's some verses that we need to focus on as men that teach not only what masculinity is, but what the world refuses to teach when it comes to the word of God. You won't see lessons on these verses. You don't see them because people don't want to focus on this. They rather focus on the niceties of the Bible in verses like the woman at the well and how patient he was with her, but they don't focus on the things that teach men how to be men. Just read some of these verses and see how they've been manipulated throughout society. Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. That's important. You don't see that the other way around. There's not a mutual submission. That stuff is nonsense. Maybe I can make this bigger. That stuff is nonsense. So submit unto your husband as unto the Lord, for the husband is head of the wife, even as Christ is head of the church. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Does Jesus ever have to ask the church for permission? Or is it the other way around? For those who sit up here and say, oh, well, we should submit to each other. It's a partnership. Is that what the Bible says? Is it a partnership with Jesus? Is that what we do? As unto the Lord. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this on StreamYard. As unto the Lord. Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself is Savior. Now the church submits to Christ, so wives should submit in everything to their husbands. Let's skip to Colossians 3:18 through 19. Wives, submit to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. It tells you you have the propensity to be violent and to be harsh. You could whoop your wife into submission. It's telling you that so that you don't. But the first part is what people do not want to teach on. Wives, submit to your husbands. It doesn't say, and husbands, submit to your wives. That's not what it says. Hold on, my brother calling me. Hey, what's up, man? No, I'm live right now, man. You know what? It's funny because if you wanted to call into this show, you actually can. I can give you the link. I'm just discussing masculinity right now. Yeah, I'll send it. It's actually in my live in the detail part. Yeah, text me if you can't get it working. All right. That's my brother right there. So it says here. I hope you can get that to work. That'd be cool if you can come on. I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every wife is her husband. When have you heard a lesson taught on this? This is scripture. Scripture red pills you. It ain't just like, because we're going to get into what is red pill, because some people have a different outlook on, oh, red pill is being a player, red pill is being a pickup artist, red pill is simply when you see the truth. It comes from the analogy that's made in the movie The Matrix. Red pill. When you take the red pill and you see the truth, or you take the blue pill and you live in a lie. Now, can red pill go too far with some of what the red pill people say? Like what's the word? When they give solutions to their problem, they're often wrong because they don't have Jesus Christ. But when they assess what women are doing and how women act and how men should be in charge, they're absolutely right. I don't think they could get much righter. First Timothy 2:11. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. What? What? Yeah, oh, that's not what they told us the Bible says. Well, that can't be in the Greek, the Hebrew, and the Aramaic. That's not what it says. My Bible said that women do have just as much say as the men do. That's not what it says. That doesn't mean women are less. It doesn't mean women are less than men, but it means that there's a different role, and that role needs to be respected because it's from God. Man, what in the world? I can't find my soundboard. Oh my gosh, dude. There we go. Good. There it go. Now I gotta configure some stuff. So we going over right now, and anybody who wants to join, I got the StreamYard link in there. The verses of the Bible that feminists hate and that men have been ignoring. Because feminism can only exist because we as men allow it. That's why there's a small culture inside your home that you should be in charge of. You should be in charge of the culture in your home. And then that's supposed to branch out to the culture in your community. And then the community goes with and affects stuff like the government, stuff like your country, your state. That's how it's supposed to go. But men aren't in control anymore. And so now we got to fight to get that control back. First Timothy 2:11. All right, here we go. Can you hear me, man?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hold on. I think I got you muted. You might have to enable your mic because it's showing that I can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Let's see.
Let me see if I can get your mic working. It won't let me unmute your mic. Can't unmute guests because they choose to mute themselves. That's what it's saying. That's not the case. I know that's not true. It must be something. Did you not if you're using your phone? Yeah. So go to your. I think it might be your phone settings. Let me see. Can't unmute because your guest chooses to mute themselves. That's not what's happening. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. Why I want to let me. It might be your phone settings though, man. Check. Use your mic. And then let me see. Because it won't even let me unmute you. I'll look and see how to do it. Give me a second. Let me see. I'll keep trying it. How do I, let's see. Unmute my phone in StreamYard. Let's see what it says. Tap the screen while you're in StreamYard Studios. The controls should appear. Look along the bottom microphone. No, that's not what I mean. All right, can you hear me?
Unmute myself.
It says you're unmuted now.
Yeah, but can you
Give
hear
me
me at
one
all?
sec. Something's up.
Oh man. Yeah. You can't hear me at all. I might have to do it from the computer. You can't hear me at all.
Hold on one second. Hold on. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I heard. 'Cause I'm about to say I heard me on YouTube, so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm on there.
Something is
But for
up,
some
man.
reason, you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, that was stupid. That's because I had it coming from the wrong speakers.
But yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, you talking about these how Christian men don't be getting into the scriptures like that,
Well, it's not just that. I wanted to talk about, hold on,
and the red pill in general.
like what the red pill is right about and what the red pill is wrong about. And right now, I'm going through verses that show that the Bible is what really is the thing that red pills us when it comes to dealing with women and women's nature, which a lot of men struggle with. A lot of young men are struggling with women's nature. And
Mm.
so the Bible has always said they think they coming up with something new. The red pill is not saying anything new when it talks about male leadership. That's the biblical, and it's been biblical.
Yeah, it feels new to them though because it's so
Hmm.
jarring to the culture. So the
Hmm.
culture is so feminist and so feminized. And to be honest, a lot of Christianity is so feminized that when they hear the real thing, they get shocked.
Yeah.
So I get why they think they have discovered something new, but it's not new. I think a lot of them when they get into it, like the intellectual red pill people, when they get
Hmm.
into it, they realize, oh man, there's more to this Christianity than what we thought.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
and that's why they get into Christianity and some of them get into Islam because they know, as much as Islam is messed up, it is at least their
They
understanding. There's ancient wisdom has more to say about male and female dynamics than
yeah.
Time magazine.
And they at least are one of the few religions left that can say something to their women. You know what I mean? Without their women.
Yeah. Well, they don't one religion that can literally say to their ladies, shut up.
Yeah. It's a
And
part of their religion.
nobody is bats an eye about it. Whereas in
Hmm.
Christianity, we still have some feminists around in the churches that need to be corrected. And so they rarely hear a Christian man like you or me say, hey, no, knock it off.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we rarely gonna go up to a lady and say "shut up," but we will tell them to be quiet.
Yeah, right.
We just nicer about it. That's all.
Hmm. Yeah.
We act like we got some respect in class, unlike Islam.
Yeah, we just don't we we not abusive about it. But yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
they want to. Like I looked at it as an Islamic discussion, man. They was going through a deep theological discussion on how you could slap a girl.
they was having
Like
they had notes, pictures
they
and
did, man.
diagrams.
They had a whole conference, and one of the things was how you should do it, and it was like it should be a light beating, not a serious beating.
Oh my
And then one dude was
goodness.
talking about how like when he walk, he sometimes will stop walking on purpose. And if the girl is supposed to walk 2 steps behind him. So then if she keep walking because she ain't paying attention, his hand is out with the backhand quick, like
Oh my
cha,
god. That's
But he
yeah,
entrapped
see.
her into it. I just think that's like super wrong. That's like the Bible to talk about
But you know
like
what?
not provoking.
Yeah.
And that's worse than
That'll get
provoking.
a
That's
girl to
that's
poison your food.
enticement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll get a girl to poison your food.
Yeah, man. It's something going on there. They don't care about their women because they got camels. So.
But yeah, look at this. So here, I'm gonna show you. Show me if you can see. Can you see that?
I can see a little bit. I could probably pull it up better on my screen,
It's cool.
but
I
then
can
you're gonna
read
see
it.
my chin.
No, it's all good. I can just read it too.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so we was going through what are the verses. We went through verses like you already know Ephesians chapter 5 and Colossians 3:18. Wives, submit to your husbands. 1 Corinthians 11. I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every wife is her husband. People be acting like they don't even see these verses now in today's world. 1 Corinthians, I mean, my fault. 1 Timothy 2:11. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man. She is to remain quiet. Um, let's see. Oh, 1 Timothy. This is the one that's get ignored a lot. 1 Timothy 2. As Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived and became the transgressor. It speaks to a lot of woman's nature.
Yep.
And the thing is, like, we're not trying to make women out to be evil because they're beautiful in their place. But when they're out of their place, you got to remind them, like, no, you don't belong there.
Well, you know, one of my favorite scriptures about men and women relationships, people don't talk about it a lot, but Numbers 30, it talks about vows.
I thought you was gonna say Ecclesiastes can't find a righteous woman, but okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's like in my second one. But my first one is at Numbers 30 because it talks about how a woman will make a vow, and if her husband hear it, he can cancel the vow.
Oh snap!
And the whole point of it is that who is the final say in the home,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you got all these people out there, they're so casual about who gets to say what in the home, and the Bible is not. And I think
Yeah,
when you make that assumption, oh, sorry, I got my whole burned hand in the camera, my bad.
yeah, all
Um,
good.
but it's like when you understand what the Bible is saying about who gets the final say, you start to understand what male authority really is.
Yeah.
And male authority is in that, even in this scripture, is protective because we're protecting women from the worst nature of themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
also is allowing men to be serious because there's no saving a man from himself,
Yeah.
right? So if a man make a vow, he got to keep it. So we're
Yeah.
going through Judges, and we had a real hard time in my Bible study because we went through Jephthah, and he made that vow to sacrifice his daughter.
Oh
And
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
ladies in the room was like, "Man, he shouldn't have kept the vow, this and this and that." And I had to tell him it was a shocking thing, but I had to tell him that's not what the weight of that scripture says.
He should have never made it to begin with. Not
He
he
should
shouldn't
have
have kept
never
it.
made it, but once
Mm-hmm.
he made it,
You done.
it was done. And like
Mm-hmm.
nobody likes that because they want to think about like her and her perspective and everything that happens to her. But she yielded to it too. Like if you look at the weight of that scripture and the tone of it, it's tragic that the vow was made, but once it was made, it was too late.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at Numbers 30, it gives that weight to it, saying, "Hey man, you make a vow as a man, you better keep your word."
Mm-hmm.
It's also to me it helps us understand better the divorce figures when we look and we say, hey man, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. We
Yeah.
understand that women don't take vows as seriously as men do.
They
They
don't
never
because
have.
and that's it's if you understand that nature, you understand that that's because it's not a woman's place to be making those decisions and be the leader of her home to begin with.
That's why when you ask a woman out on a date, you're not surprised when they flake out because they're
Yep.
naturally flaky. That is the way that they are. They don't keep
Yeah.
their word the way that we keep our words. They
Yeah.
don't keep their promises the way they do. And when you can get them to do it, that's how they end up in bad situations. Because the dude will be like, "You said this," and they'd be like, "Oh no!" And then next thing you know,
Oh no.
now they getting twitched up in a pretzel. So it's like you
And
when they,
then they call the police afterwards and get you hooked up
yep,
because they didn't feel
like they
like
should
they
have to
should have
keep their
kept
word.
it. Yeah.
Yep. And so you got to be careful with the ladies because they don't view it the same way. So a lot of guys will say stuff like women be lying. And they not wrong, but they not right either because they don't understand how women with their emotions they feel truths
Yeah.
and
Yep.
they don't that doesn't make it
They
right. But what you need to understand is you have to understand how they see it from their perspective. If they feel like something is wrong, then they think that invalidates what they said,
yep.
and they don't care about keeping their word if they don't feel like keeping it.
Even the way that they deal when they do something wrong to a man is like the reason why they get mad at you for bringing up the wrongs they did is because when they sift the reality through their feelings, they're like, I don't feel good about what you said. And
Yep.
so, therefore, because I don't feel good, you must have done something wrong. Now, we're going to
Yep.
figure out and discuss what that wrong is you did,
Yep.
even
Now
though
the
you could be
problem
bringing
that
up what they did.
Yeah, and the problem that I have with the red pill is they have no solution to that. So a
Yep.
lot of the red pill people, they'll be like, "Hey man, we don't be acting like this, man. Just go screw another one." And it's like, nah, brother, you have to learn how to work through that because there's not always going to be another woman to screw or
Right.
to play against this one. Because their thing is, I have so many women I can play one against another. That's not a realistic solution for most people. And it's not a realistic solution even for those guys. Most of those guys still try to have
Well,
one.
you know
So
what?
the
It's
whole
funny
thing
that
is
you
you
say
have
that.
to go ahead.
No, it's funny that you say that because even the people who are players that we've seen, especially in the YouTube streets.
Yep.
You've seen Abba. He's had his like it's been like 6 girls that he has
Burned
had
him.
yes, burned him, pregnancy scares, all that stuff. That's how what happens when you're a player. Myron has had 2 pregnancy scares. He's
Yep.
had women try to come after him and ruin his reputation multiple times, and some of them have been somewhat successful. Then you had Fresh. He has women that try to come after him and say he had their babies. You got how many celebrity dudes that have messed with multiple women and they come after him? Look at the dude who had the club Shay Shay. Dude owes
Shannon
this girl
Sharp.
like 80 million or something crazy, and their life was the
Even
Bible
if he
has always
doesn't owe
warned
her
us.
that much money, 'cause I know somebody gonna try to fact check and say he don't owe him that much money. But what you need to think about, Mr. Fact Checker, is that even if he don't owe her that much money, he lost that much money with the deal that he could have had.
Yes.
He lost that
Yes.
much money because he could have had a deal. I think it might have been with ESPN, but he could have had a deal and he lost it all because of that woman. And I think what you're trying to say is this: sexual deviancy always had creates liabilities.
Mhm.
Always.
Yep.
And you
And
ain't
here's
gonna
the
be able.
thing, it's not that, because I think it hits you where this is where it hits you, and I think it's almost spiritual. Well, it is spiritual. So you know how women, they care about their feelings
Mhm.
because that's how they sift through all of their emotions, how they see life. What does sexuality do to them? Being sexual promiscuous hurts them emotionally and traumatizes them. What does it do to a man? It ruins his reputation and it destroys him financially every single time. So the things that you build up to attract the other sex, or the things that you care more about, it destroys that. So a man is not going to be emotionally hurt by sleeping with a bunch of different women. We look at pornography all the time, and men in our society do.
Yep.
And they look at that stuff and they don't feel no emotional attachment. But a woman, on the other hand, when she goes and do OnlyFans and sluts herself out, she will be messed up emotionally. Whereas a man, his reputation and everything he owns will be up in jeopardy because he's chose to sleep with multiple women.
Yep. Yep. And I think it's even a proverbs that say something to the effect that a man will be left with a bowl of soup,
Yeah.
because of a prostitute. And this idea that, yeah, man, money,
Mhm.
women will take what you got. And I
And
think
they
what
feel that you owe it to them. Yep.
100%. And maybe to some degree you do.
And
I
some,
think
yep.
I think though we live in a prostitute era, man.
Oh my gosh,
Because
man.
when people make everything transactional, aren't they just making everybody around them a prostitute?
Yeah, we do. And you know what? I'm gonna ask you about these advice I was gonna give for men. And if you want, we could discuss the stuff on here if you want to. Otherwise, we'll do it. But the stuff you was gonna call me about.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no. Get on let's stick with your program.
okay. So I don't know if you can see this. Let me see here. But this is some advice I was thinking of that I hear a lot of men talking about and they have questions on. And here's some like truths that I think that a lot of men ignore, but they have to come to accept. One of them is this: whether it's dating market or life in general, you must compete because most men don't get to reproduce. Most men
Hmm.
throughout society don't get to reproduce. So if you think you're gonna be a weak man and just sit in your house and you're not gonna compete, that's something that the red pill does say that's absolutely true. You got to go out there and become somebody. Uh-oh, we got
Yeah.
somebody else in here. Let me see. Oh, what's up, man? How's it going? Mr. Hero Forge, he got a great channel. We've done a show. Yep, it's about that. If you want to come up Heroes Forge, you can, man. I would love to have you up. I don't know how many people I can do on StreamYard. Just I'm new to this one, but
I think
yeah,
you could
we
do
can.
10 up there.
Okay. Yeah, he knows a thing or two about it.
Oh yeah.
And the
Yeah, I seen
link,
his stuff. He's a well known he's knowledgeable, a knowledgeable
yeah,
brother.
very good guy. But yeah, if you want to come up here, the link is in there. You can definitely come up, man. He said, I know a thing or two about that. Yeah. Yeah, man, for sure. Yes. That's what he says. But yeah, so I was
When you
saying
talk
you,
about competition, I agree with you 100%. But go ahead, what you was going to say. I want to kind of buckle in on that one.
yeah, you so a lot of the facts of life is in that Christian men want to say God has a plan for you and he'll bring a woman to you. If you don't compete, you can forget about a woman, dude. Don't
Yeah,
sit up. I don't like to lie to people. If you want to get a date, if you want to find a wife, first thing you need to do is hit that weight room. You need to get your money up. You need to do some stuff that's gonna work.
my
Don't
buddy
sit up
used to
here.
say, my buddy used to say people like that is B made. You know what I mean? The B word
Yes,
made. But it's like
yes,
that's a lot of Christian men. They be thinking that like a woman just gonna fall out of the sky and just be sitting in their lap. Like, man, these girls, you gotta go get them.
absolutely, man. You
You
sitting
gotta
over
go get
here.
them. They wait for you.
It's very feminine to think that somebody gonna come rescue you or save you, or a woman gonna come on you, just come sit on your lap in the middle of church. You think that's gonna happen? And I'm not. And here's the other thing. I have to be careful because some of my later points is going to address the fact that women have gotten so out of control and their standards are out of control. We absolutely agree with that. But if
Yeah,
you
but
think
here's the
you're gonna
thing.
get in
I
a
think you
game,
can mitigate that a little bit by being aggressive. So here's the thing. Most women have standards because the reason that they have unrealistic standards, this is what people don't want to admit. The reason women have unrealistic standards is because they know that they will put up with almost anything if they don't create some kind of standard. So they try to create an unrealistic one to say, okay, I'm not going to get God again. I'm going to make a standard of this
yeah,
high. Right. And the way that you bring those standards to reality is you get to know a woman. Because when you get to know a woman, those kind of standards, they start to go away,
yeah,
right? And when you get to know her and you talk to her, so when you establish a bigger social circle and you get to be known and you talk to women and you talk to men and you're like a likable person, a friendly guy to get around, those
hmm,
standards and those 6 figures and 6 feet and all that stuff, that goes out the window. But then they
yep.
start realizing, hey man, this dude is a cool dude. I like being around this guy. I feel like more of a woman when I'm around this guy.
But
And
that's
those,
something that the Red Pill says that's true too. They say they will break their rules for the guy they really like. And that's
yeah,
true.
yep. And you
And
got to
that's
figure out
why.
how to break those rules down. You got to break them
Mm-hmm,
down. And it's just like, not to try to say that we trying to be pimps or anything, but the pimps was down to something when they talk about how to break a lady down. I think they
mm-hmm.
was wrong what they did with it.
They
But some
used
of
it
that,
wrong.
yeah, they used it wrong, but their understanding of female nature was not incorrect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what we mean by break your girl down, or it's simply this. You have to understand women's nature is different than men's nature, and you do have to understand how to talk to a woman that's not simply the same way you talk to a man to
Yes.
get the outcomes that you want. If you want your wife to listen to you, you have to maintain masculine frame. Some people gonna say you talk about manipulation. From the outside looking in, it might seem like manipulation, but to a real man, you understand you got to talk to your woman a certain way to get her to do the things that's best for her.
I don't
You
think
ain't.
you people should think of it as manipulation any more than when you go on a job interview, you put on clothes, you don't put on the same clothes you would put on if you chilling at the house on Saturday afternoon. Right. And
Yes.
I is that manipulation? It's not manipulation, it's putting forward a professional image. And people need to understand when you in a mass when we talk about masculine frame, that is putting forward a husband's image so that when women look at you, she assume wifely role.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't assume people assume positions. And I'm not talking about in a sexual system. I'm talking about, if you're a police officer, there's going to be a good cop, bad cop, and you naturally fill that role. There could
What's
be a
up?
funny guy and a straight guy.
Hey,
It's
how's it
like,
Good.
going? Yeah, I'm
How's it
good.
going, man?
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen? Good to
How's
see
it
you.
good
going, dude?
man. You got the professional setup.
And I do
What?
what I
Hey,
can.
hey, what's up, Heroes Forge, man? Hey, just so you know, this is my brother Brian. We talk about this type of stuff all the time. We know you're an expert on
Awesome.
it.
Hey, man. Good to see you. Good to meet you, Brian.
Good meeting you, man. Good meeting you.
I'm
I
trying to
see
see
what
what
you're
the best
doing
way
out
to
there.
do it.
I think
Yeah,
you
man.
had it just now with the three on the line and then the subject out in the middle.
Okay. Let me
Yeah,
see.
yeah, that'll work best.
We'll do this for a little bit, and then I'll switch it to this one.
Oh, yeah, that
So,
looks good.
hmm
Cool.
but I wrote this up really quick, so if it's some misspellings, don't hold me on that.
Dude, you're good, man.
So here's one. I was thinking of some red pill truths that a lot of Christian men and a lot of Christian churches don't want to accept. One of them
Oh,
is
yeah.
that women do like the idea of a strong and powerful man, and it's not wrong for them to want that.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. They love to go ahead and submit to a powerful man.
Absolutely.
They do.
And they should. That's their nature. Like, so what happens is a lot of Christian advice, because it comes from a lot of blue pill spaces, they will say the opposite. Well, if you wash the dishes, maybe your girlfriend will like it, or your wife will appreciate it. No, she won't. She don't want to see you doing a woman's role. She want to see you be a man.
That's right. And that's the thing is like the whole idea of servant leadership is a thing that's sold incorrectly in the modern church. It isn't that you go ahead and serve everybody until you're last. It is you serve by leading everybody in your domain.
Mm-hmm. I agree. When Jesus did not sit there and let his disciples dictate what he did next.
Yeah.
And
So even in the very one singular verse that they point to all the time, Jesus washing the disciples' feet.
Yeah.
Even in that specific act, nobody in the dynamic was confused as to who the boss was.
Yeah.
Even Peter was like, "No, you can't be doing that. I need to be doing that for you." Mm-hmm. And Jesus is like, "You don't understand what the dynamic is here. You're going to sit down and I'm going to do this because you need this from me."
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
100%.
I agree with you 100%.
I like how you put that, man, because when you think about what a servant leadership is the idea that there is nothing that you won't do to help leadership happen, to let the team win. And that's what servant leadership is. So it could be the idea of a quarterback. It's a reverse, and he might throw a block, but that doesn't mean a quarterback blocks every play. And I think when you're talking about in a husband and wife dynamic, I might have to wash the dishes if my wife is sick, but that doesn't mean that's what I do every day. I don't become her servant. I'm willing to do what it takes to win. That's what servant leadership is.
And the exception doesn't become the rule like feminism wants it to be. So what they say, they say stuff like, "Well, see, my husband washed the dishes. I did that once. Don't get too crazy. Don't get too crazy, because I might never do it again." Like. And the thing about it is, if more men had the mentality of this is a special thing I'm doing for you, instead of we're in a partnership. I hate the word partnership, by the way.
Yeah, I hate it too.
When I hear that, dude, it sounds homosexual to me.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? So like there's a way that you can make a partnership dynamic work, but it's not the standard one that we talk about. And it's going to take some intelligence to actually be able to meet it. Like, are you familiar with the idea of a limited liability partnership? It's a business structure.
Like in business. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a specific business structure where you have a general partner and he's got unlimited liability, but he controls the organization. And he owes fiduciary duty to all the limited partners to the extent that they're actually invested in the enterprise.
Okay.
So he calls the shots. But the thing is, if you try to go ahead and bring that up for most people have no idea what that actually means or don't have any business background to associate with that. So generally, I don't use the word partner to describe marriage.
Right.
Though, if you are up with it, there is a way that you can describe it accurately that way.
And I get what you're saying. You're talking about there is a way to describe it where it still works, and it's not the way that the feminists describe it, where it's like, that's my partner.
Not at all. I don't buy that at all.
What do you guys think about this one? I think when it talks about maintaining frame, that is something that most Christians do not discuss. And what I mean by that is there is a level of attraction and there's a level of authority that you must maintain as a man, or you will lose attraction from your wife even throughout marriage. And most Christians just teach that in marriage, you should just be attracted and you don't got to do no work anymore. So the woman gets fat, the man becomes weak, and then they wonder why they don't have sex. Well, you don't have sex because she's not attracted to you. It's very simple to me.
Yeah. So the thing about frame is the idea is that you're providing boundaries and guidance and walls to protect the family. And when anybody, whether they're from the outside or from the inside, tries to mess with that framework, as the man, we go ahead and we protect the framework. And so when we're doing this, we set things up so that the family wins and we protect the family. She's going to respect that. Yeah. Even if she disagrees with you at the time.
I agree on that. And even if she got to come back, even if she doesn't, I think you still got to do it, because a lot of women don't even know why they're attracted to strong men. But then afterwards, they're like, whoa, the fact that I can't push him around means that other people can't push him around.
Exactly,
and they
right.
recognize that.
Yeah.
So here's go ahead.
If a man cannot say no to his wife, then he cannot say no to the various enemies that'll come at the gate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And women know that. They just don't know how to necessarily verbalize it. But they know, if I can get him to do whatever I want, how in the world is this man telling me what direction we're going to go to next? So here's another one, y'all. I believe a man should be willing to die for respect. That don't mean the slightest little somebody disrespect you willing to kill somebody for, like in the black community. I'm talking about like a man should be willing to end the relationship or end it temporarily for disrespect. What I mean is, my wife would never think of calling me out my name ever. And if she did, I would be like, you gonna have to get up out of here. In the same way with like certain types of disrespect, like slapping in the face. I hear stories from Christian men. I just heard a story on Effective Purpose when he did that interview with that guy, and the guy was like getting beat up by his woman. In my head, even though he was a victim, I was thinking, why did you allow that? You know what I mean? You cannot.
How did it get that bad?
If you allow that, you're telling a woman, this is what I deserve. You know, and I just can't fathom a man having self-respect, letting a woman or a man disrespect him. You got to remove yourself from the situation or do something about that immediately.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do one a little bit better. I'm not trying to one up you or nothing, but this goes to the scripture. So in every modern translation since 1970, Ephesians 5:33 has the duty that the wife owes her husband. That word in the Greek is phobos. That's where we get the word phobia, right? It is fear. However, in every Bible translation since 1970, that word has been changed to respect, which is a weaker word than fear.
Wow.
So,
okay,
that's something for you to go ahead and chew on. Now,
that's cool. Respect, I like that already.
Respect is the lower end. If you can't even respect your man, why is he going to tolerate that? So in the dating world, respect should be the bare minimum for y'all to go ahead and maintain a relationship. However, if he is going to marry her, she ought to fear him like she fears the Lord, right? Which is a reverential fear. Now, the King James uses the word reverence, which is also a good translation of the word phobos in that context. So either reverence or fear, both of those are acceptable. They're acceptable translations of this word phobos, which prior to 1970 had never been translated as respect. And they added it into the lexicon, into the Greek lexicon after 1970 to try to go ahead and push that.
I never really thought about that, but I do understand it 100%. And you know what? It's a very feminine view of respect to try to take fear out of it. Have you ever heard people talk about, well, you shouldn't fear God as in being scared of him? Yes, you should.
Yes, you should.
Absolutely,
yes, you should. Yes, you
Absolutely,
should.
You should. In the same way that you fear what has power, you know.
Yes.
Like when I see a lion, if I saw a lion walk, I would be scared and respectful enough that I would stay my distance. In the same way, a lot of women don't fear men at all, a lot of women because of that have put themselves in danger. How many videos on X have you seen of a woman thinking she can go toe to toe with a man because she has no fear, and then she gets knocked out because they had no fear? It put them in danger. The fear of God is necessary for you to worship God.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, it's both and. It's, yes, fear of his power and reverence for his majesty. It is both at the same time. And that's what people don't understand. Right? We go to Proverbs chapter 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
These are all good things. And most of these Christian women do not fear their husband this way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And because they don't fear or revere their husband in this manner, you end up with all this wilding stuff that we see on X.
Yep. I've seen it so many times. And I think that as a man, when it comes to maintaining frame, that's why I do encourage men to lift weights. I do encourage men to do things like, I think you should. Now, I'm not saying everybody got to be a ninja, but when it comes to combat sports, I like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, and I think women need to understand and feel your strength sometimes too. Yeah. You need not necessarily going, and I'm not talking about knocking out your wife. I'm talking about in the sense of I think a man, when he's, especially in his younger ages, you should be able to pick up your woman. You should be able to do things like throw her on the bed. She should know, if I was to ever fight this dude, it would be a losing battle, because she knows when you can do those things easily with her, ain't nobody coming in this house without my say and telling me what to do, including you.
So she really likes it when you throw her on the bed, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Just throwing that out there.
They love it.
Yeah.
So I think a man should be willing to die for respect and end the relationship because he doesn't have respect. Because if you as a Christian man don't maintain respect in your household, it's no way that you're going to be able to run your household and protect your family.
Yeah. What's really interesting is I think that a lot of pastors in the current modern Christian age are disqualified from being an elder or pastor because they don't manage their household well.
I know Brian agree with that.
That's one of the 100%. Biggest disqualifiers that I see, because these men, they can't go ahead and handle their household. They can't handle their wife.
They don't even believe in spanking their kids.
When you don't have respect, you got no bottom line. So when you talked about it, it kind of described to me that there needs to be a top line of reverence and there needs the bottom line of respect. When you don't have respect, nobody knows how bad they could treat you.
Yep.
You don't have any line. And I think what happens with a lot of Christian men is they don't make any lines in the sand. When people, and you start that when you're dating, because you tell a girl, you say, hey, if you do this, I'm gone. People need to know that you can leave. And because they know you can leave, that's respect, right? So that creates a bottom line. And then when you married, they are used to that line. They're used to, hey, this man has a line. And you keep reestablishing that line. And ladies naturally test the line. And you got to let them know, hey, you're getting close to the line. And you have to have something, in boxing, they used to have this thing they called a step back jab. And what that jab was is when you got too close, the jab came out. It wasn't a punch, but it was a jab. It stopped you in your tracks. And a lot of Christian men don't have no kind of jab. They don't have no punch either, but they don't got no kind of jab. And so these Christian women be running all up on them, and you be like, whoa, you let her do all that? I'll be like, oh, you let her wear yoga pants up in church? You let her do this? You let her do that? And I'm like, how did this happen? But then when I see them how they dated, it's of course, they started off simping. They go, oh, honey, what you want? Oh, let's do this. What do you want? You want to go here or you want to go here? It's like, no, man, that's not how it works. Even when, I'll give you a little minor thing. When it comes to music choices in my car, when I'm driving in a car, I set up these playlists. And I let my wife pick the songs from the playlist I set up. I don't have a playlist for country. My wife loves country, but I don't have a playlist for country because I don't listen to that. And so she get to choose from the choices that I have allowed her to choose from. And it's the same with my kids. I set up all these playlists, and now I say, hey, kids, let's go in order. You get to choose this, but I get to set up the rules for how they get to choose what we listen to. And we all enjoy ourselves because there's a rule. And one of the worst things you can have is a game where there's no rules. And I think what Christian men have done is they say, man, I want to be so nice. I want her to let her know she can do whatever she wants. She's not happy when she can do whatever she wants because it's like a game that has no rules. At the end of the day, you play a game with no rules, you're gonna get bored real quick. And I think that's what Christian women get with a lot of Christian men. They get so bored. That's why they
Well,
start cheating and things like that, because they
yep,
trying to say to themselves, hey, what line can I not
yep.
cross? And for
Well,
a lot of
you know,
these men,
see
there's no
that?
line.
You know where you see that right now? The Lindsay Clancy case. The
Oh
reason why
man.
women are so out of control and they're saying this nonsense is they're begging for men, husbands, boyfriends to say, hey, you're acting completely insane and somebody need to put you in check. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they're
but
begging.
before we get there, they saying that because they trash. Let's just start right there. They saying that because
Yeah.
they trash, because even though we can ascribe them a positive thing and want to know where the line is, but first off, for you to even identify with somebody that strangled their kids like that, you just straight up trash. Now,
Now, you know that
beside
ain't,
that,
I'm not saying, hold on, because I'm not saying that they doing it out of a positive
I know you
moral
not, but
place.
I want to make the listener
But
clear.
just like, how about this? It reminds me of this. What I'm saying is this: have you ever had a kid that you see who the mother, a spoiled suburban kid or something, and the mother's saying, "Don't
Mhm.
touch that," and he grab the glass and throw it on the floor?
Yeah,
That's how women are acting now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you look at that situation and you was like, if I was there, I would have spanked that kid and beat his, you know what?
But he would have never
That,
did it if you was there, because it's just
exactly.
like with my kids. They'd never do that because they knew if they did that, they would get knocked in the next week. They know it. It's not even abuse. They just the thought of me looking at us. My wife sometimes she'd be like, "Hey, sometimes the look you give
It's
is
funny because I
already
know because I've
stopping."
seen it.
And I just be looking like, and I be my wife be like, "You look, you give me sometimes be so mean." I'll be like, because you shouldn't do that, and I'll just be looking at you, and that'll let you know you getting close to my line.
You crossing the line.
You crossing my line.
Hey,
You inching to my line. Your pinky toe getting close to the line. You're about to be out of bounds, and I'm gonna let you know.
well, it's just you holding frame. That goes back to a point we were talking about earlier, is the fact that you have the frame established in the first place is the thing that gives you that superpower of just giving them a look because they know that you're going to enforce it.
Absolutely. What do y'all think about this one? And this one I think is not talked about enough in church. Vet women properly. And
Oh, yeah.
vet women using the godly men that are in your life. The godly men such as not only your father, but your deacons and your pastor. And then like let your other men vet her to say, yo, man, no, she's not good.
I
I don't
almost
think
think
enough
you
men
should.
talk about that.
I wonder too if you should vet with some ladies vetting them too, because ladies know how to read the BS from ladies real well.
That's
I
true.
found
There's
this
some truth
too.
to that.
I found this that if you have women around you that are inside masculine frame, they are real assets when it comes to digging out and scoping out the sus things that other women do. Real good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. I also see that if they're the kind of women that are true old Titus 2 women, that are the kind that are going to go ahead and tell the younger women how they ought to live, those are the ones I would be more likely to take advice from. And I'd be less
Right.
likely to take ones with masculine frame. Unless when you say masculine frame, you mean she is within the frame of a masculine man. I don't,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
wasn't clear
that's
to
what I
me.
mean.
Okay, cool.
I meant somebody who's already submissive to masculine leadership. Because
Cool.
if
I'll
it's a woman
co-sign
that's
that.
masculine, she can go somewhere else with her advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. I'll co-sign that. Absolutely. I just didn't quite understand the way that you had said it. But yeah, absolutely. We should go ahead and vet them. That's crazy not to.
Most men don't though. A lot of even Christian men, they get on a dating app and they just start dating a girl, and then after 6 months, they be engaged. You like,
Well,
yo,
how can
did
you
you
tell if
even
she's going to
ask?
submit? How are you going to tell if
Right.
she's going to submit? How are you going to tell if she is going to respect you? How are you going to tell if she has reverence for you? That's just even that minimum standard is enough vetting that is way more than the average Christian man does nowadays.
It used to be back in the day, man, you would go and you would talk to a girl's father. And I think a lot of people don't understand that in itself is an extreme form of vetting,
Oh,
because the
yeah.
fact that she even has a father, and the fact that you could talk to him and you can kind of see what kind of respect she have for her father, that
Mm-hmm.
lets you know, is this a lady that knows how to get on a man's program at all?
Mm-hmm.
And is she somebody who respect her father, or is she blaming her father for all her things? My wife love her father. And it's like you sit there and I knew right from there, like, man, that's a good sign. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic sign. But
Yeah.
when you
I
got
think
these
that.
ladies and some of them, they throw they dad under the bus and then they love their mom for everything. It's like, no,
Yeah, that's a
this is
big
nothing
red
but women
flag.
excusing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big red flag. What about
But it's
this,
a
y'all? No, go
I
ahead.
mean,
Go ahead.
it's a huge green flag for a masculine man to be an honored father in the life of either their son or their daughter. Huge green flag, because that helps you with your vetting by default. Because if you can respect that man, you can respect that he likely has good boundaries. And if he likely has good boundaries, then that's likely to transfer over when she's in your household.
Absolutely. 100%, man. How about this one, you guys? Self-control. You need self-control because it allows women not to use sex as a weapon. And this was before you married and after you married.
Absolutely. This goes along hand in hand with frame, honestly. Because this is the thing that I think gets most men in the modern church is they're too afraid of spending a night on the couch. And
Yep.
so they're not going to say no.
It's funny, man. It feel like you hear with me and my brother. We say that type of stuff all the time, man.
I'm not going on the couch. You going on the couch.
Yeah,
This my bed, too.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, what are you on about? Maybe
Funny,
you
that's
can
my
make it
wife
up to me
told me to tell
later.
those stories.
No, but it's true though. It's like, no, she's going on the couch and she could go ahead and come back in the bed if she's got less clothes on. She can come back and if she tells sorry, that's fine.
Yep.
She can, she can reconcile.
Yep. I agree with
we
that
can make
100%.
it right.
You know, the thing about it is that a lot of these dudes, they first off, they be too many of them is begging for sex.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Yeah.
to get sex, they begging, and it's pathetic how that much they be begging for. Please, just let me have a little bit. And you like,
Yeah.
bro, this is
I don't get it.
wow, this is wild. So that's the
Well,
one thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, they must not know what the plumbing's like. Because here's the thing. If you know what the plumbing's like, and if you're a master plumber, she's coming to you.
Right.
You're not going to her. And when you go ahead and give her the look, she's hopping in the bed because she knows that even if she's not in the mood right now, you're going to make sure she's taken care of.
Yeah.
And she's going to make sure you're taken care of.
That's why I think that men, a Christian man, if you do Christian manhood right, you will be lusted after by any woman. Because the reality is, women will see, not only do we have the philosophy that we put our wives when it comes to their enjoyment above ourselves, but we also look at it like we're masculine and we take care of business. And this is even in the bedroom. You should never be looking. Your wife should not be. When I see these secular dudes talking about, at least I got off. I'll be like, dude, that ain't. I don't even
What
get
are you talking
enjoyment
about?
off
Yeah.
of that. I don't even get enjoyment off of that. Part of being a
that's a
man
fail.
is for
That's a
finishing the
fail.
job.
But the part of that too is just a real man knows what objective he's trying to reach.
Right.
And I think when you're talking about sexuality, you trying to reach an objective of both people being pleased.
Right.
And when you don't do that as a real man, you feel that you let down or that
Yeah.
you lost the game.
I think it's
And I think-
feminine. I don't know, man.
I think these men, and you get why they fail the game, because they don't know how to hold nothing. And so you sit there, of course they can't hold themselves when they're having sex. They like, oh yeah, let's do it. Oh, yep, here it goes.
There it goes.
Can't hold it. And
Yeah,
so
they
it's just
got
a
no
matter of-
self-control.
The thing about it is they don't understand is this: self-control is a benefit even when you're having sex. And I think they don't understand that. So when a Christian man trains himself and he trains himself in his relationship, he want to have sex just as much as anybody else, but he trains himself to say no. Then when he's having sex, he knows how to control himself so he doesn't go off when he doesn't want to. He know how to control himself when they had their first kid and the wife can't have sex for 6 weeks. He know how to control himself. He know how to control himself if the wife have a good looking friend and she come around dressed inappropriately. He knows how to control all that. So when you know how to control it, or you even know how to control it, your wife say, hey, if you submit to me, we can have sex. You say, no, I'm not ever submitting to you. You won't submit to me. And the
Right.
Christian man know how to win that fight, or the Christian man know how to be in a home that's uncomfortable until the woman finally submits.
And
All
that's
those
what
things
I
take
was getting at.
self-control.
That's what I was getting at, because if you have self-control, no one can use sex as a weapon over you when you have mastered that. So when with these men, when you hear these sob stories from these simp men and these simp husbands, they're sitting over there saying, "Well, man, I just don't know what to do." It's like, listen, are you gonna win this war or not? My wife said if I don't submit to her, she's not gonna give it up. Then you better win the war. Are you gonna win or not? What is the cost? So all you taking for somebody to throw some draws at you for you to give up all your morality?
Yeah, you know
Come
what the
on,
problem
man.
too is, they never had the conversation because they was afraid of what the answer was going to be. They never had a conversation of what is an acceptable sex life for us, right? They never had that conversation. Sometimes, I even like, hey, I be telling, like, if it's been a while, I'm like, hey, man, are we being virgins again or what? So it's like you have to be able to tell. You have to be able to tell them, number one, you have a limit of how long are you gonna sit there and wait. And you have to tell them too, hey, what's an acceptable? What's a good life for us? A good life should be more than just once a week. It should be more than that. And so,
Yeah.
like, a lot of these dudes, twice a month is really good for a lot of these guys. And we will be surprised at how
Nah,
bad their
man.
lives are, man. We don't understand because we don't live like that. But these dudes out here starving.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they do it to
I talked to them.
themselves.
They do.
They do it to themselves. Well, they can't go ahead and hold frame, and they go ahead and submit to the woman. That's the end. It's game over.
The
Dude,
comment
you saw
when
that
you said
video?
They do it to themselves was, oh man.
That's what happens.
That's the
They do it to
pornography
themselves.
right there.
So what's interesting though is, like, you were talking earlier about how when you're a man and you know both sides of this coin, other women will go ahead and be looking at you a certain way. That's usually a cue for your wife that she does not want to give you up, because somebody will scoop you up right away.
And it's good for women to know that, because women are far more social than we are. And this is the stuff I'm talking about. In church, they would never say this. A lot of churches would never say this, but this is the honest to God truth. You have to maintain attraction even throughout your marriage, or your wife will lose respect for you. And a woman cannot have sex with you and give you the type of sex you really want if she don't respect you.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and field something that's pretty dark, and why we don't talk about this that much?
You're talking about the grape fantasies, ain't you?
No.
Okay.
Rachel would never tell Jacob no. Why is that?
Yep.
We don't have to say it out loud, but because Leah's right there, Bill's right there. They're all exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
The patriarchs of old. The patriarchs of old had it.
They knew what they was doing.
Okay, y'all. Here's what do y'all think about this point? To move it on real quick. Can y'all see it?
Society. Oh, don't be nice.
Yeah, don't be nice, be honest, and be kind.
You guys familiar with the work of Vodi Bakum?
Yeah, yes. I love Vodi Bakum.
So he had a saying about this. He said that be nice is the 11th commandment.
Yeah.
I did a whole video on this a couple weeks ago.
I seen part of it. Yeah.
Where the idea is people don't know the difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice requires you to be ignorant of the things that are going around you. Being nice is about making other people feel comfortable. Being kind is being willing to pay costs for other people to be well. So when your brother is in sin, if you're going to be willing to man up and go to him and talk to him to his face and say, brother, you are messing up, and I'm going to be here with you to help you through this. That is kind. But if you know that your brother is in sin and you never tell him anything, and he asks you how you're doing on Sunday, and you say, I'm doing all right. How are you doing on Sunday?
That's nice.
That's being nice. That's not being kind. Because if he continues in that unrepentant sin, we know what's going to happen to him. And 100%. We owe our brothers more than that.
Yep.
I
agree 100%.
I heard somebody say something to the effect that nice and naive had a similar root to them. And I'm not
Yes.
sure where I heard that
From the
but-
Latin. From Latin. Yes. The original word for nice meant to be ignorant. It meant to be, to be blind. That's literally what it was.
You know what? I've always thought as being nice requires you to lie, because when you go to two women and you hear them talk, when they're being nice to each other, they're often lying. Men do it too because we got so feminized. But you hear two people and they're like, "Man, I love your shoes," and you're like, you don't like those. You don't even like it. You're just trying to be nice. And the thing about it is, if you're kind, you can actually tell somebody the truth that would hurt them, but for their own long-term benefit instead of their short-term feelings.
Yeah, and you can tell them truth in love. You can say it in a kind manner. You don't have to just like put them on blast. You can take them aside and be like, "Hey, look, I don't think this is the right thing." There are ways to do this. You don't have to just like flamethrower him in the face.
Yep. Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. I think people think we just lead them with our elbows all the time. And it's like, no, man, that's not what we're doing. But at the same time, you do have to have an elbow. You know, you do need to be able to throw an elbow from time to time. I think what people are not realizing is that when you show a propensity, let's not say propensity, when you show the ability to fight, you don't normally have to fight.
Right.
And I think too many people, they don't realize that, like, in a strategic sense, if you're afraid of a fight, people can box you in. They just need to know how to approach you. You will always back away, and they can put you where they want you to be. Just because you're afraid of a fight, there comes a time where just being willing to fight will create respect for you, even if you don't win the fight.
Let me tell you something that might be giving away some truth a little bit and getting into my background. But you know, something that criminals often do is they will put you in a situation that causes you fear, but will be strategically inappropriate. For instance, when they rob you, they'll put a gun very close to your head. But anybody who knows anything about weapons and guns and disarming somebody, that is the worst way to rob somebody. They're doing it so that you can have fear so that you don't fight back. They'll put a gun up to your head and say, "Give me all your money." But what they're really is saying is, "Please don't fight back, because I'm going to put this so close to your head that you get so scared that you don't fight."
Yeah, so they're trying to intimidate you.
Exactly.
That's really what the play is. But the thing is, if you are skilled in that position, you could disarm them really easily.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. But you know what? Let me go to this next one real quick. So this is one thing I think that a lot of churches don't say to men, and is absolutely true. Society hates you and wants you weak. And if you realize that, then you will actively fight against it. But if you don't recognize that, you're going to sit there and be like, "Oh, they got my best intentions in heart." No, they don't. People want you weak so they can control you. And that's why feminism is on the rise, because they know if you have weak men, you have a weak society, and women will do what they tell you to do. Just like with COVID and all this other crap, it's easier to control society when women are in charge. So they want you to stay weak.
Yeah, and I'll go one step further. Even men in the church want other men to be weak, so they're more controllable. So I put up a video about how God expects us to be a warrior, right? So prophet, priest, king, and warrior are the four roles that we have as men universally. And I got so much pushback from blue-pilled men about it, and so much praise from guys that are like, "Yes, we got to stand up and do stuff." Like, people are like, "No, we're supposed to turn the other cheek," and all that. It's like, no, look at the context of the Beatitudes. And they're like, "No, but Peter Jesus told him no because he cut off the guy's ear." It's like, no, it's not. It's that context that was wrong. It wasn't the action that was wrong.
Yep.
Right. Peter got in the way. Peter got in the way of Jesus going to the cross, which was his ultimate mission. Right. It wasn't that Peter was defending Christ was the problem.
Yep, exactly. I agree with that 100%. I think I've even brought that up before, where if that was the case, Jesus, who knows more than all of us, knew that he had a sword to begin with. Why did he let him carry it if it was always wrong?
You know, Jesus told them all to get swords.
Yeah,
he told them all to get a sword. He said, sell your cloak, get a sword.
Yep. And so this idea that they was just some weak pansies that just couldn't wait to be slapped and was like into some BDSM type stuff. This is what I hate about this modern weak male Christianity. The misunderstanding that Christian men have to be super soft in order to obey God. When the Bible
No.
clearly says it's worse, dude. If you think about what David did, remember when
Oh,
David
yeah.
had all his when David had his family taken away and the men was about to kill him because they was like, "You let this happen." Did he say, "Well, I guess I'll just turn the other cheek"? They got their swords, they armed themselves, and they got their family back.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was no like wusses about it.
But even if you look at a few stories before that, when when Nabal disrespected him, he told
Yeah,
everybody, he said, "Get your swords," and
we about to
everybody didn't
kill
even
him.
say anything. They just got in line. And I think what people don't realize is like, I agree with what you're saying, because when you're talking about the church, there is a propensity from some leaders to try to make men weak because they're easier to lead, right?
Yes.
And then they don't check you, they don't question you, they just do what you say. And what it takes a lot more leadership skill to lead men who are warriors, because you have to prove that you're a real man too. And you
Yep.
have to
Yep.
constantly prove it, because you could be constantly tested. And just like with the men with David, that was a real test when he lost all their families, because they're saying, hey, they're not sitting there saying, we're gonna keep crying. They're saying, hey, we're gonna kill you, dude. And to lead a whole
Yep.
bunch of men who are, can and will kill you, that's a way different thing than trying to lead them than to trying to lead a whole bunch of saps. It just is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and even if you go back to Hebrews 11 and you look at the hall of faith, how many of those men that are enshrined in Hebrews 11 are warriors? A great many of them are warriors, and other men are men of means, right? And so that flies in the face of a lot of other, like modern Christianity, where they're just like, oh, you got to live a life of asceticism. That's not true either. Many of the men of old were very wealthy men of faith, and they served God through their brawn, their brains, and with their wealth.
I actually 100% agree. I agree because what we've done, especially with this, how feminized we've gotten, we've taken weakness and acted as if it's a virtue. What we've done is we've said, they take these words like meek and lowly, and then they'll say, well, then you must make yourself not powerful. You must give your power to your wife. You got to do all these things. Where one of the things that Jordan Peterson said that's so true is that you can only have mercy if you have strength. So
That's
you
correct.
can't be merciful if you on the ground getting beat up and say, well, I guess I'm gonna let you go next time. You ain't got no next time. That's up to the guy who's beating you up. And in your household, you must have power in order to enact anything, including mercy. You can
Yep.
be merciful to your wife. You don't gotta have your foot on her neck. But I'll tell you this: she better know that if you change the mind, if you were an evil man, you could.
Yep.
If you were an evil man, you could hurt her.
Yep. It's funny too, because what Mike has said about the men in Hebrews 11, you could argue that out of all the men in Hebrews 11, only Abel was the one who we don't know if he fought. Abel might be the only listed man in that whole chapter that didn't fight. Every single one of them,
Maybe.
because if you look at it, like Abraham fought, Isaac fought, Jacob fought. So it's like you look at all these guys, you're saying, oh my goodness, there's not you almost can't be a hero of the faith if you're not willing to fight in some way. And even if you look at, like, even if you were to consider some of the prophets being referenced, it's like you look at somebody like,
Even Samuel fought. Even
Yes.
Samuel.
Yep.
When Saul tried to go ahead and spare the life of somebody that the Lord Most High said must be executed, Samuel took the sword and took him himself.
He did it himself. Yeah. I think a lot of people forget that Abraham went to war too. They just think of the
Yes,
things
he
that
did.
he did as a father, but he took armies to war. And people
Yep.
forget about that.
Jacob said he won some things with his bow. So
Mhm.
it's like you
Crazy.
looking at these guys, you like, these ain't no punks. And when you're looking at it, Moses led the people quite a few times into different battles. So you're looking at these guys and you're saying, okay, even somebody like Isaiah, he wasn't known as a fighter, but here's a dude who walks into the throne room of a king and says, no, king. That's the attitude of that's not the attitude of a punk. That is not somebody who's gonna sit there and say, hey, I think God might want you to that's not him. Name Jeremiah, you might call him the weeping prophet, but he went into the temple while they were false worshipping, went in there, got thrown in the dungeon, say, hey, okay, go ahead and kill me, but know this, God gonna judge you. And it's like, how do you look at somebody like that and then end up with the Christianity that we have today? These dudes are in heaven just rolling their eyes.
We gotten too weak,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely, man. What do y'all
Well,
think about this?
Well, let me go ahead and do something
go
right
ahead.
quick because we haven't gone into this yet on this point. Modern Christianity loves to play with language, and they go ahead and try to use meekness as if it is weakness. They are not the same word. Meekness is like having a sword within its sheath, ready to strike when the time is right. It's being under control. The word there is praus. Praus is a Greek word that was often used to describe a war horse under the control and the submission of its rider. So in like manner, we are to be praus men who are ready to go at the incitement of the Lord Most High to do what we must do.
That's a good way to look at it, man. How do you pronounce that word? Praus?
Praus.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I've never heard that before. That's cool,
take
though.
a look. Yeah, the Greek is, when you get into the Greek of some of this, it is amazing. There is a lot of stuff that you find out by going to the original language.
For sure, man. That's cool. What do you guys think about this? And this is more of an exaggerated point, but you guys will see where I'm going with this. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Do not take advice from modern women.
Generally speaking, yeah. I agree. Yeah, this is very easy. Very easy one. Because they don't have your best interests in mind. They don't have any of your interests in mind.
They don't know anything. They don't
not
even know
only-
what a woman is.
You know what? If a woman is not married, consistently faithful in church, and doesn't have kids, I don't trust her. I do not trust her, man. If you a modern woman and you a single woman, especially if you over 30 and you single, I don't trust what you got to say, man.
Yeah, and I know we're talking in generalities here, and so I want to go ahead for the sake of the audience. I'm going to go ahead and clarify a couple things, because if you've got
the not all police,
no, it's not even the not all police. It's just like putting things in proper context so people understand, right? So if you've got an attorney that is an amazing attorney, you're going to take advice from the attorney because they're an amazing attorney, not because of their general bend in life. Same thing with an accountant, same thing with a doctor and things of that nature, right? It is a matter of their specialty. You're hiring them for their specialty. Now, this point that you're making, you're talking about general stuff in life. You're not talking about specialized knowledge. So that's the only thing I was trying to go ahead and delineate there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What do you think about that, Brian?
I agree. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I agree with his exception to that rule, because when you're talking about something that's specialized, you know, I put it to you this way: I don't trust, to speak into my life spiritually, I wouldn't trust somebody who was in a promiscuous sexual lifestyle. But if that person was a lawyer, like he said, I would take their advice on law. But you have to understand where they're coming from, because I'll give you an example. We've had some people who are psychologists, and they'll try to fix marriages. And when you look at how they try to fix the marriages, where they're coming from is hugely important. And it can start to stretch into the spiritual territory. So to the degree that their specialty doesn't step into spiritual territory, I 100% would trust them. But to the degree that their specialty starts to dip into the spiritual, then you have to be worried. You can still listen to him, because even if you look at somebody like a Jordan Peterson, this dude is a smart dude, a good dude. He's not a Christian, though. To the degree that you listen to him, you have to make sure you're not listening to him in the spiritual domain. When he starts to get into who Jesus is, you have to be careful. You could listen to him as a second opinion on something. I've even heard his reflections on scripture, and I thought some of them were good. But it's just a matter of, you have to kind of take into account that this dude is not quite spiritually awake yet.
Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah. That it never absolves us of our responsibility as men to be discerning and to act with wisdom. And I think that's basically what you're getting at, is discern what the left and right boundaries of what they're saying is. And that's great advice for any man.
Right. I agree. I know we
And I
agree on
think,
that one.
but I think what you're saying too, man, I think both of you men are saying this, and maybe it's something that we should stress more because we live in a very much of a specialty society where if we have a specialist or an expert, we just trust that expert. I mean, like
Yep.
COVID, right? So somebody would just trust the expert, and the expert would be dead wrong, and people turn off their brains and they turn off their wisdom, and they just listen to that person. And I think even when you have somebody that's in a specialty, you still need to try to just take into account and say, does that make sense to me? Right? I want to replace your engine. I don't remember having any issues with that on my car. Like you need to think twice about that because that's why you can get a second opinion, an opinion from a doctor or things like that. You use your common sense and you say, hey man, that doesn't make sense to me. Let me go check it out. And then when you check it out with somebody else, sometimes your thoughts are confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. So I'm going to piggyback on that because a lot of times men will be prideful about something and they'll be like, that don't make sense to me. So I'm going to ignore what you have to say. And that's not what you're saying. To be clear, that is not at all what you're saying. But I want to go ahead and make sure for the sake of the audience that when we're talking about exercising discernment, if you don't have discernment, if you don't have wisdom to fall back on, maybe you shouldn't think too hard on that. Maybe you should trust some guys that have some wisdom over you.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I agree.
But for the general man who has a decent hold on life, exercise discernment, gentlemen. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about this one, y'all?
How you get started with discernment? You start by testing what other people say and say, okay, let me listen to it first and see how it works out and look at it. So go ahead, Jeremy.
I agree, man. What about this one? I do not believe that men and women are equals and there is no mutual submission. That's been a
get out of here with that. Get right out of here with that. Nah,
I'm getting sick, man. You talk about getting me fired up, dude. I hate when people talk. It's mutual submission. Where did the Bible ever use this term? Well, we know it's not going to use the word mutual, but even the philosophy behind that is something the Bible never taught.
They try to steal it from Ephesians 5. They try to get it from Ephesians 5.
I got something for you for that one. I got something for you. All right. So in the God's Word translation, okay, it's a very specific translation that was done by the Lutherans. Generally speaking, they're pretty good at this, but they went ahead and because of the way they translated it, they translated Ephesians 5:21 to be a separate and independent sentence. And the way most Bibles that use that translation put 5:21 right above in a separate section, right there, right up with 5:22. When in most translations, 5:21 is not a separate sentence. If you look at the Greek, it is not at all a separate sentence. It starts in verse 18. And so verse 18 to 21 is all one big sentence. And so this is where liberals will go ahead and find whatever translation suits their fancy. And they say, see, it's right there. It's right there in the English. And to the undiscerning man that does not know the difference, he can easily be taken in by that. In that same translation, the God's Word translation, Galatians 3:28 does not say we are all one in Christ Jesus. It says we are all the same. That is not the same thing, brothers.
Right. I agree.
We are all one in Christ Jesus talks about us being united in heirship in Christ. That we are all one at the foot of the cross. Yes. That has to do with salvation. It has nothing to do with roles and responsibilities. Right. Yeah. However, if you read that translation, it's right there in English. We're all the same. People can easily be led astray.
Absolutely.
However, even in that context, a discerning man will know that the book of Galatians is an epistle written by Paul for the sake of fighting the Judaizing heresy. The whole purpose of the letter is to fight a heresy. And so if you go ahead and try to use that sentence outside of its context, you could do a lot of damage. But if you know the context, if you are a discerning man of God, you will know that that is not accurate or that is not true.
Not only that, but I would say if you look at scripture in light of scripture, right? Like before you guys even joined it, you have to look just in the same way that Jesus mentioned hell more than he did heaven. There's a reason for that. In the same way that Ephesians, Colossians, First Corinthians, I'm showing them on screen right now. First Timothy, First Timothy 2, First Corinthians, Titus, First Peter 3. All of these talk about women's submission specifically to their husband and specifically in a certain way. So it says, submit to your husband as unto the Lord. And
in everything.
Yes, and not only that, but then it gives an example of Sarah and Abraham. It says, as she called him Lord, which if you want to talk and translate it, that's like saying whatever you need, boss, whatever you need, king, whatever you need, my leader. That's what it's saying. And so when people mess things up, they want to take one section of scripture and not look at it in light of scripture. You don't find that same amount of scripture the other way around, where it says, women, your husband should also submit to you this
You
way
don't
and
find
that way.
ever. You don't find that ever. Let's just be clear. You don't find ever. And the thing I hate about when they look at Ephesians 5:21, like you said, is when it says submit to one another, what it's talking about is how different roles require different responsibilities and different lordship. So if you could be a husband and then you're Lord, and then the wife is the submissive one, and you could be a son. And then your father is Lord and you're submissive, right? And so, or you could be a servant and then you're submissive to your master. So it's like the submit to one to another is talking about how different roles require different lordship and different servantship. It's not talking about, hey, so the husband submit to wife, because that doesn't even make any sense.
It don't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for like you be her boss and she be your boss. Like it doesn't. That doesn't
on
make
Tuesdays,
sense.
she tells you what to do.
Okay. Sure, but it's also talking about a general attitude amongst your brothers in Christ. So 521 starts in 518. That sentence is about the assembly. That whole thing is talking about the assembly. It's not talking about these roles. These roles are clarifiers that Paul uses after the fact to help them to understand the practical matters associated with it. And this is the same thing he says in Colossians 3. It's the same roles and responsibilities there without any talk about submitting to one another. It's unilateral commands.
Do y'all think that it's more of men's fault in society, that this partnership, mutual submission stuff, or is it women that's pushing it, or is it a combination of, I think it's a combination of both, but I think it's actually more the weakness of men that don't want to take responsibility that has allowed this. I think feminism has taken advantage of that, but the weakness of men has made the playing field for that to even fester, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, David would not accept Jezebel. I'll just put it like that. Ahab had to go ahead and leave his power for Jezebel to pick it up off the ground. David, Moses, Elijah, they went ahead and kept their strength appropriately, and nobody took one over on them. Right. 450 of the prophets of Baal looked at them in their faces and said, go right ahead, douse this with water, do it, and the Lord my God will go ahead and handle this.
And he made fun of them.
Yes, he did, to their faces.
And I like that passage for that reason, because obviously God was in support of what he did because God answered his prayer. So
yes, he did.
When you people talk about, well, we can't do that, and we get out of here. Have you seen how the prophets talked to these? When you knew they was doing evil, they didn't have any mercy on these people, and we got to have that same warrior mentality. This is the mentality I got. If you want to disrespect everything in our society, you want to take our kids and tell them to cut their private parts off, you want to take our women and get them to believe all this insanity feminine stuff, I will be harsh with you. But if you want to discuss it and you want to ask questions, I'll discuss with you. But the moment you try to bring that stuff to my family, you're going to see me be angry about that because it's satanic and I'm not allowing that. And I'm thinking we got too many Christians that sit up and want to discuss and then get disrespected and have nothing to say back. You're not going to disrespect me in my face. Just like David was when Goliath, he was like, who is this disrespecting the Lord our God, the living God?
Well,
He was like, yo, we ain't doing that over here.
Even more to your point, though, think about how Michael disrespected him, right? And how he came back from bringing the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem, and she disrespected him. He called her out right away. And so when you talk about what led to the downfall of society, feminism wouldn't exist if men didn't let it, right?
True.
Well, and it couldn't exist if we didn't have a soft society as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. So here's my next. Go ahead. You gonna say something?
No. I was just saying, men blessed women with the ability to be feminists by creating this rich society, but then men were soft on women, and that allowed them to be feminists. And both of them is true.
Brian, remember we made a video on this topic a long time ago, and it's women are not men, and men got to stop being gay. And what I mean by that, is stop expecting women to act like men. When you say, "Oh, why is she so emotional?" It's because she's a woman. Don't be mad that she's emotional. Just understand it. That's not saying it don't need to be corrected either. But what I'm saying is like, it's a lot of men, especially with the red pill rage and stuff, where they're like, "Oh, women are so dumb." Women are not dumb. They're just not they're not meant to be in the positions they're in. And so when it becomes a thing where it's like a lot of men expect women to act and talk and communicate like men, and they never will. Well, why don't my wife ever just say what she wanted? Yes, she should, but that's not why women communicate. So you have to more understand it than be mad at it.
Genders look dumb, like you said, though. Genders look dumb when they doing stuff they're not supposed to do. So if you got a man and he's a 50-year-old average dude, and you having him picking out the color of blinds, most men gonna look stupid. And it's the same when you have these roles where it's like, I've had jobs where like you have these women in positions of authority, and you sitting there saying, "What are they doing? This is stupid." And it'll get you to the point. Me and you were talking about this the other day. It gets you to the point where you have to stop yourself and say, "I don't hate women. I'm not mad at all women. It's just a matter of these women are in this position that they shouldn't be in, and it just looks so bad. It looks like a man with a dress on. It just looks bad and gross." And it's the same with this. It's like, man, you looking at these women, you say, they don't deserve to be in this role. Why are they in this role?
Yes, absolutely, man. You got anything to add to that, Mr. Hero Forge?
Yeah, absolutely. So you were saying earlier about how it's retarded to go ahead and expect women to communicate like men and to be clear and concise with their speech. A strong man can train his wife how to properly communicate for their mutual benefit, right? That is something that can be done. It's not something you expect as the default, though. Right. And I'll tell you what, most daughters that come from the house of a strong patriarch will know some way to communicate that may take some adjusting. Right? Because the way that I expect my wife to speak to me is not necessarily the way that you gentlemen would have your wife speak to you. Right? Because we are individual men with individual preferences. Right? If my wife wants me to go ahead and want something of me, she will ask me directly, because at this point she knows that if she's going to speed around the bush, the answer is no. And that's just it. And if she wants to go and be upfront with me, we can have a conversation.
I
agree.
Mine know I just get impatient with that. I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah, my wife like that too. She get upset. She laugh at me for doing that. I'll be like, hey, you got to get to the point. You got to get to the point here. Now, what I would say is that each side, there is some give and take there. Like when I communicate with my wife, I have to communicate or understand how she communicates. In fact, I'm a lot soft. Even when she think I'm being mean to her, I'm usually being a lot softer than I would with a man. And then on the vice versa, that when she's talking to me, she has to be more direct. And she would probably think she's being more direct, but even in her directness, I'm sitting there like, can you get to the point? So it's just a difference of how we communicate that I think there's some forbearance there on both sides. Patience, it's like you gotta learn, patience, forbearance, and then even some long suffering where it's like, I know we're missing each other, but that's simply because you're a woman and I can't expect you to talk just like me.
No.
Yeah, that's funny. So you speak of long suffering. I'm like, man, I only got about 5 minutes of suffering, so you got to get to it. You got to land the plane.
It's some stuff that I won't appeal to. I don't care if a women is cool. Like I told my wife too, and we had this conversation. She laughed at me for this too, because I said there is no time where you just get to vent to me and don't hear my advice. You don't get to do that. Like I said, that's super selfish, and that's something that feminism has taught women. I just want to vent, but I don't want you to give me any advice. I just want you to tell me it'll be better, or tell me, or just listen to my feelings. No, I don't do that in this house. If you tell me something,
That's why you got girlfriends.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not here to just be an emotional sponge. If you tell me something, I'm not going to lie to you or tell you it's going to be okay. I'm going to give you the advice that's necessary. If you don't want to hear that, don't come to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear your feelings.
And I think this is one where different men can have different standards for this. I'll give you an example. So I'm going to tell my wife that, like, look, when she starts talking, I'm going to usually ask her within the first 30 seconds, do you need me to, are you just having me listen, or do you want me to do something with this? Because if it's, you want me to do something with it, I'm going to pay attention, and she's going to have to land the plane quick. Yeah. If it's, she just wants to talk at me, I'll be like, babe, cool. You can talk at me. I'm going to be paying half attention because I got other stuff going on. And she knows that that's the case. And so, like, if she just genuinely needs it, I'm going to go ahead and help her out with it to the extent that I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
there are limits. I look at it.
There are limits to it.
Like if if you're telling me a story, because women tell these super long stories that nobody care about. If you're telling me a story, I'm gonna be nice and listen. But if you're telling me some real problem and you don't want me to say nothing, that's a no-no. Don't tell me about a problem at work or in something and you pretend like it's the worst thing ever and then not hear my solution. I'm gonna tell you my solution because you ain't gonna tell me a real problem and expect me not to come up with a solution. If you're telling me a boring story about some shoes you saw at the mall, I'll listen and not tell you what you should have did because it's a lame female story. But you gotta know. You gotta know. If I can't discern the difference, I'm gonna tell you what I think, and you might be annoyed. You know?
Yeah, and that's just a standard you set up in your family, right? Yeah. And you hold your ground on it, and that's a respectable thing.
Right. What do y'all think about Brian laughing because he knows it's true? What about this? And this is one I've had to challenge a couple of men on. Take charge, have goals, and put God's goals before your wife.
Ooh, so
absolutely.
A lot of people
absolutely.
We met with a pastor, right? And he was trying to tell
my brother's an elder, by the way, Mike. Just so you
know.
Cool. He was trying to tell us that God had told him to go somewhere, and we didn't believe that he did. And so then he said, "Well, my wife wants us to do that." And that was the wrong thing. We all said, "When did you start submitting to her?" And he couldn't answer. He could not answer. Of course, he got in his feelings about it, but it's like he couldn't answer. And that was like literally the end of that relationship because I think people, they genuinely think if my wife really wants something, I should do it.
Yep.
And that's absolutely the wrong thing. Because when you think about what you're supposed to do as a man, she's supposed to help you accomplish what you're supposed, that God put you on the earth to do. She's your helpmeet. You're not her helpmeet. And when you twist it, man, you have got the whole relationship messed up and out of whack, man.
Yeah. So I look at it as there is a hierarchy of responsibilities. And my responsibility, first and foremost, is to the Lord Most High.
Yeah.
After that, I have a hierarchy of things, of duties and responsibilities. And my wife is up there.
Yeah.
But she does not compete.
In fact, I would even say she might be second.
You know? I would say she's third. I say she's third. And I'll go ahead and explain. First is the Lord Most High. Second is the mission that the Lord Most High put to me.
Oh, I put those two together.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like if that's how you want to go ahead and imagine it, then like I got no issue with that. But
No,
I go
you
ahead
might
and
be
look at
right because you're articulate. You might have a different distinct ways of describing those things, though.
Yeah, like I distinguish the specific mission from my service to him because there are things that I do in service to him that supersedes my mission.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
For example, like
That's a
the
real good way of putting it.
assembling together with the saints, following his commandment, taking the Eucharist, all of these things, participating in his means of grace, obeying the gospel. These things come before my mission. They are prerequisites that are required of me so that I can effectively go about my mission. My mission is nowhere unless I have a good relationship with the Lord Most High.
Yep. I would say one of the best places that you see this is in Job. When Job had everything was taken away from him, he said, and his wife said, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" He said, "Get behind me. You speaking as one of the foolish women speak." And the thing about it is, like, that's because his mission was to obey God before he tried to seek the advice or the pleasure of his wife. And so a lot of men, they don't, when you say it like that, they really get bent out of shape because what that means is that your wife, she is not supposed to or even try to come before your mission that you get from God. If she tries to get ahead of that, and she is supposed to, what's the word? You're supposed to regulate that. You're supposed to be like, no, you don't get in charge. Your goals in life or what you want and your feelings don't come before the mission God has given me. And what a lot of men don't understand is a lot of the reason why they cannot get a girlfriend, reason why they don't have respect from their wife is because they're not pursuing their mission. A woman comes along with a mission to help you achieve your goals. She doesn't come as a goal. Your wife is not your goal to make her happy. My goal in life is my goal in life is to make my wife happy. That's why you're a loser. That's why she don't respect you.
Happy wife, happy life is one of the worst bit of marriage advice that I've ever heard. And you know where that comes from? It comes from a song in Britain, and then in Texas, in Abilene, it came from a real estate advertisement on a billboard in the 1950s. Happy wife, happy life. They were trying to sell a house. And somebody was like, oh yeah, that's good. Let's do that.
Sounds about right because they smart about that in advertising. They smart about that.
Took us all down with that one.
If you say this in church, you know a bunch of simp dudes is gonna have a problem with that. Do not put your wife first. Put your godly mission before your wife. They will have a real issue with any man saying that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, if you have a godly wife, she will respect that.
You understand it. Absolutely.
She knows exactly right. She knows that that's her place, and she is very happy in that place.
Yep. I agree 100%. Matter of fact, that's a red flag. If you have a godly mission that you know God is telling you to do something, and your woman, before you get married, she's your girlfriend, and she's like, I don't want to do that. That's a big red flag. Because what God is telling you to do is far more important than what she's telling you to do. Men, you got to understand that.
Yeah, and the thing is, if she's not a ride or die, it's not worth marrying her. And on the flip side, if she cannot submit to you, she should not be marrying you.
Yep, I agree.
That's
100%.
the two sides of the same coin.
You got to stop playing these games with you. A lot of the times it's because they've been sexually inappropriate before marriage that they have these ties, and it's like because sex is spiritual. So when these people they get involved in these sexual ties, you feel that you owe this woman. You feel that this woman, she could do no wrong, and these men get put under this spell, and now they submitting to this woman in order not to lose the sex. And I see a lot of this red pill advice that goes down that road too. It's like, no, man, when you can say no and you can put your mission in God, and a lot of the times the red pill mission from a lot of dudes is to have sex with multiple women, or they do these things like accumulate wealth and money to get women. No,
Yeah.
man. It's got to be something outside of yourself, something bigger than yourself, a goal, a life, an aspiration, a legacy that comes from God. Or once you fulfill those things, you're going to feel so empty inside that's why a lot of these men who achieve these things end up self-deletion. Because now that you've achieved it, now what? Once you see how superficial these women are out here and you done slept with about 100 of them, you're going to realize it's got to be more than this.
Yeah, because they don't respect the wisdom of Solomon. Solomon already did this experiment. He had the women, he had the wealth, he had all the knowledge, and he's like, it's all vanity.
Yep.
All of it is vanity.
Oh, you talking your language, Brian.
Lord.
Brian's
My
favorite book
of
is
the Bible.
Ecclesiastes.
Favorite book of the
Yeah.
Bible.
Absolutely, man.
Well, gentlemen, I enjoyed this conversation. I'm at to bounce up out of here. But thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, man.
Jack.
We pretty much, yeah. We pretty much done with all this anyway, man.
Brian, it
All
was
right,
so
thank
good
you.
to meet you, man. It was very good.
Man. I'm loving what you're doing out there too, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate you, brother.
For sure, man. Yeah, I'll drop them. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you coming up too, dude. I kind of knew this was one of your topics, so I was like, man, I wonder if you're online, but not. I should have hit
It's
you
like,
up beforehand.
I know a thing or two about the Christian red pill.
Yeah, for sure. Did you see that conversation that Pearl had recently with the Catholic dude?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes, it was insane.
Goodness,
I'm like,
man.
well, but the thing is, like, the guy has he has a business to be mindful of, right? He has to be
That's
careful
true.
of his words because he cannot speak against his own brand, even if he can tell that it's the truth.
Yep. See, the thing I want to do is we have to create men who can actually challenge somebody, because some of the things that Pearl said was wrong, but he was the wrong person to challenge it because he had no masculinity.
Right.
When you have this blue pill way of life, women don't respect that. I think if I was, you had a conversation with Pearl, and I thought you did very well. In fact, I think that they had no choice but to respect you. You know what I mean? Like they was looking and saying, yeah, we got to respect what this dude is saying. That's how Christian men should be, because when you come on a platform and you challenge these red pill ideas, they think the objections that red pill raises are real. They're good.
They are. Absolutely.
You can't deny it. So you have to have somebody come up with true masculinity to challenge that. You can't come up there and say, oh, women are broken that are having sex. These women are out here having a time of their life. People saying some wild stuff.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, like, I think that a lot of Christians are very quick to discard the red pill. And I think that that's not exactly a great way to do things, because there are so many things that are right about what the red pill says. Now, the thing that most people don't understand is there's a difference between description, how you describe what is, and prescription, saying what ought to be. Those are not the same things. Just because you say something is the case doesn't mean you think that it should be the case.
Yep. In fact, I said that at the beginning of this stream. I said their assessment of what's going on in society is correct, but their solutions are incorrect. And so
I think it's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of times the red pill as a baseline is the something called a praxeology.
Yep. I heard what's his name talk about that all the time. What's his Godfather? Yeah, Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah, and it's true, though. It is true that it is at a baseline. It is a praxeology. It is about what is the case. And the thing is, the red pill hands itself to each individual man to filter it through his own moral frameworks. So for us, we would go ahead and search the scriptures to go ahead and find what truth and reality are in a spiritual way and in God's natural revelation to us. The red pill is part of natural revelation. Whereas we have the advantage of searching special revelation, otherwise known as the scriptures.
Right.
And so when we put those things together, we end up with a clear vision for what reality is and what we are to do about it.
I agree with you 100%. And that was kind of the goal for today when I was talking, because if you were to hear me talk about women, you would say he's Christian, but he's also red pill. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is, I think the Bible was the first red pill. I think the Bible was the first one to tell men to act like that.
Sure,
it's
but I
like,
think
I
that
don't know.
for the sake of a modern audience to understand you more clearly, that helps as an illustration of having that packet of things. But the thing is, as a Christian, you have to disassociate with a lot of the individual practitioners that have
Right.
their own practices that are not in accordance with the word.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what feminism has done is they've demonized a lot of the red pill people for what the people who are saying the red pill talking points. They group you with them, and then what weak men do, I don't have anything to do with that. Well, some of the stuff they're saying is very true. And some of the stuff
You
they
lean
point out
in.
about women's nature is absolutely true. And you can learn a lot from them. Like I said, I'm a person who I didn't live no promiscuous sleep with 50 women before I got married. I didn't do that. But I still recognize women's nature, and I still understand what's going on out here, and I have enough wisdom to be able to determine how hard it is for young men to actually, hopeflation is true. I understand all these things. And so I think it would behoove a lot more Christian men to understand that the young people, the society that's going on now, these young men, they need people to teach them the truth, not sugarcoat it and blue pill it. They tired of that nonsense. They don't want to hear this Christian talking point stuff of just be a good little boy and the girls will come. They know it don't work. You have to tell them the
Correct.
truth.
That's true. They're tired of men lying to them. They're tired of men selling them a story. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a danger to going too deep down this way, because a lot of times people will blackpill themselves against things like the institution of marriage and things of that nature. Which, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things wrong with how we do marriage in the modern world, and there absolutely is a lot of merit to change a lot of how we do legal marriage in the United States. These things must be addressed.
Yes.
If we're going to go ahead and have things turned around.
In fact, go ahead.
But we cannot forsake the righteous ordination of marriage, because that is the context under which God provides the fruitfulness and for us to multiply.
Yes. In fact,
Because
I think that
all the things you want to try to, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as warriors, just like both of our channels, even the way we named them, Heroes Forge and Righteous Edge, what we're essentially saying is, this is our ground. This is our fight. And we're going to take the fight back. We gave up too much grounds of previous generation. It's time for men with a warrior mentality to take that ground back. We're not giving it up. Yes, marriage as an institution has been taken by secularists, and they did all type of blue pill stuff to it. It's time for us as men to say that doesn't belong to y'all. It belongs to us, and we're going to take it back.
And it's funny, because when you go ahead and bring up the idea of a prenuptial agreement in the context of Christianity, people lose their freaking mind.
And they
lose their mind.
Yes. And I don't understand that.
Well, the reason why is because they believe that by not having a prenuptial agreement, you hand more power to the wife. And if you hand more power to the wife, that she can go ahead and serve as a taming mechanism or a domesticating mechanism to the man. That's why they go ahead and have, for the most part, default custody to women, because then they can have a threat point. Right? This is a video that I did about divorce not too long ago, is that the reason why they fight so hard to kill legislation that would fix the divorce problem in the United States is because they want to keep men down. It is intentionally to improve the bargaining position of women within marriage.
Yep.
Because if you don't have to get divorced if you have the gun on the table in the negotiations along the way.
I agree 100%. And that goes back to one of my points when I said if you as a man don't understand that they want to keep you weak and that's part of their agenda, you will start as like 10 steps back from where you should have been, because you're going to think, oh, they on my side. And meanwhile, they're stabbing you in the back. And the problem with a lot of men is they think that's a depressing thing to understand that, but it's more of a freeing thing, that nobody's coming to save you. And the reality is, people are against you. It prepares you for war. Stop going through life thinking that you got the same advantages as females do. You got to fight, and you got to recognize as people that they don't want to see you be successful. And this is not no hater or everybody hating on me. It's just the reality of society is bent so that you don't succeed, and it's your job to overcome it.
Right. And the thing is, a lot of these guys are playing life like it's a single player game.
Yeah.
They fail to recognize that life is a team sport. And you are much better off if you have a brotherhood of men that you can trust to get your back when things are tough, and to go ahead and be on your left and right shoulder so that you can face the evils of the world together.
And don't be shy about it. Like when we reached out to each other, what you do is you recognize that a real man, even if you have small disagreements, if you recognize that a man is on the same side as you, you need to link up with that guy. Get him.
Absolutely.
Call him on the phone. Try to, because that team may one day save your life. You don't understand the connections that you have as men, whether it be business or whether it be, hey man, I just got myself in a jam, come help me. Those are the type of things that can save your life in the future as a man. All this like stay at home, play video game stuff, that's cool. But the reality is you need to go out and find other men that have like-mindedness that you can join together and have a team with. Because at some point, when the world goes downhill, it's already doing, you're going to need some anchors to keep you stable, man. It has got to be men.
You're right. You're right. Because the women are not prepared for it. They are not oriented toward that. And they're going to flock to the men that are. And, you know, hey, the Davids may come back. The Solomons may come back.
It might.
Like, it's just a fact of life. And like people don't want to talk about that. People don't want to look at that. But that's what it's looking like is happening.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But yeah, man, I know I don't want to keep up too long and all that stuff. But the thing about it is I want to have more conversations like this. And I even want to, in the future, have some debates. I want to moderate some. And I would love to see a debate with you and anybody else. You are very nice.
That'd be interesting.
I would love to see it, man. I think it'd be great. I wouldn't mind getting in there too. And my brother, he's very knowledgeable as well. We used to debate back in the day. But I wouldn't mind doing something like that with this channel about some of these issues. And especially if we could get some of these cowardly blue pill Christian dudes to come up and try to defend their position. I would love to do that, man.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So anytime you want
thanks. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. If you want to go ahead and hit me up with a collaboration link after we're done, by all means, I'll go ahead and hit you up with that, and that'll be good.
Cool. All right, man. Absolutely. I'm about to end it off. All right. My fault. You said what now?
I said, hey, have a fantastic day, man. Really great to see you.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good one. Yeah, man. I think that if we have to get men together of like-mindedness and strong men, because that's the only way we're going to survive this wave of feminism, this wave of nonsense that's going on here. If we don't do that, we can expect to fail. Men, we got to stick together. We got to make something. We got to make groups. We got to make little groups where we come together and say, we're going to educate and iron sharpens iron. We got to do that. If we ain't willing to do that, we will not survive the next wave. Because I'm going to tell you something that's scary and it's true and it's going to happen. Trump ain't going to be in charge forever. And you see what happened when Biden was running things. He did nothing but silence people. He had the government get involved and silence voices like this. That's going to happen again. Trump is not, we might have somebody worse than Biden come up. And then what are we going to do? And I'm not saying Trump is perfect because I don't agree with everything he do either. But as far as freedom of speech goes, we're not always going to be ruled by red pill people that allow us to say whatever we want to say. So if we don't make these connections now, good luck. All right, I'm going to catch you guys next time. This is the Righteous Edge, Jack Bravo.